Welcome live to Taylor Field, the Edmonton Eskimos and the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Friday Night Football. And one of the heroes of last week in an exciting first week, Danny McManus, who engineered a beautiful drive late in the game to beat Calgary. And the younger hero, Kevin Mason, only his 6th start tonight. And Mason, big drive against the BC Lions last week for the victory on the road. This, the Saskatchewan home opener. And welcome to Taylor Field, everyone. I'm Rod Smith. Thrilled to be here. Yes, they let us out of the secured studio, and now here amongst the fans. And, of course, it just wouldn't be the same with me without our usual panelists. To my right, Bob Obilovich, the coach, Les Brown, and Marty York of the Globe and Mail. Looking forward to chatting about this one coming up in the next half hour. But first, well, yes, it can really make you gray for either of these coaches, Jim Daly or Ron Lancaster. The way things have been going now, let's head upstairs and join Gord Miller, Glenn Suter, and David Archer, guys.
Rod, thanks very much, and nice to see you guys are allowed to travel across the country once again. The authorities managed to give them clearance just in time. But, you know, it's interesting. Both these teams are coming off last-second wins in week number 1. And for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Dave, you get the sense that after winning the first week, there's finally some cautious optimism here after a couple of years of pessimism with all the quarterbacking controversies and everything else that's gone on.
Very optimistic group around town. I've had a chance to wander around town for the last couple of days, and there's people talking to me about this broadcast, the team coming here for the Friday night broadcast, and about their ball club. A lot of optimism, and rightly so.
I think so. And the one thing that I hear, and the one thing that the fans are pumped up about, is this defense. It's an all-star team on paper. Al Ford did a nice job in the offseason of picking up a few free agent linebackers. They're going to make the difference, and the fans want to watch these guys play.
Well, the Riders are 1-0. The last time they went 2-0, Glenn Suter won that. It was 1989.
What a year.
Yeah, the Grey Cup year for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, so they're pretty pumped about that in Saskatchewan, and we're looking forward to what should be a great game between two longtime rivals. Rod?
All right, thank you, Gordon. Yes, they did let us out. One of the concerns of this, of course, exposing Marty York to the fans and to other teams. That could be a scary proposition. But, hey, in Saskatchewan, Marty York is becoming quickly a legend here. All four in our pregame show predicting that Saskatchewan would finish first in the West. And how big a legend? Al Ford, the general manager of the Roughriders, is here for a special presentation, Al.
Well, first of all, I'd like to welcome you all to Taylor Field, home of Rider Pride, and have this special presentation for Marty, who was the only sports media in Canada that predicted that the Roughriders would finish first in the West. And we have this jersey with your name on the back and the number 1 here, and that number 1 signifies ours finishing first, and it also signifies, Marty, in the year, more than a year you've been on this program, this is the first time you got one right.
Well, I want to tell you, thank you very much. I'm overwhelmed. It beats what I usually get from Al and his cohorts in the CFL, I'll tell you that.
I can't believe you've stooped this low. I've known you for so long. You know what I want you to do? I want you to put that number 1 on Marty and let him return punch tonight.
Well, he's going to be doing the opening kickoff, but we also have some T-shirts around here that say, "We love Marty and TSN." Matter of fact, Cal Murphy was wearing one.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, this is too weird. I can't take much more of this.
We can't either, Marty. We can't either.
This is bizarre.
Well, Marty, I guess if you live long enough, you can see anything. And, hey, they can't change the name of Regina to Yorkton. That one's taken. We'll just call it Yorkstown for this night. But a lot of history between these two teams. Saskatchewan and Edmonton go way back to 1949. In fact, this is the 150th meeting between the two clubs. The Eskimos lead the series, but Saskatchewan looking to chip away at that tonight here at Taylor Field and go to 2-0. And when we return, we'll have a look at the guy who got it done heroically in the dying minutes. Friday Night Football continues on TSN.
Oh! Well, we'll see what Mason is made of here. A minute 35 to go as he begins the drive. On target, Dan Farthing makes the catch right at midfield. The Riders still have a chance. 1:26 on the clock. Farthing again, he's down to the 40. Another Saskatchewan first down. The rookie at the controls, Kevin Mason, stumbles coming out. Looks for a wide open Farthing. He's got it. He's got the touchdown. You think they're excited in Saskatchewan about this young Kevin Mason? A minute and a bit left in the game, and he brings them back.
That was Kevin Mason's 5th game starting for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and certainly the most memorable. But there were questions along the way in that game. In fact, many thought that Reggie Slack should be the starter when healthy. And, well, Mason didn't exactly get a vote of confidence from Daly during this off week. Earlier, he sat down and spoke to TSN's Jeff Courier.
Can you describe that last-minute drive against the BC Lions? take me into the huddle and what it was like marching down the field.
Well, you know, starting on the sidelines, you know, Coach Hoffman, you know, he just showed confidence in me, you know. He showed that he had confidence in me, you know. Everything seemed to be relaxed. It wasn't, okay, do this, do that, do that. He just kind of turned it over to me and just kind of, you know, I don't know if he was feeling his way with me or whatever. But as I came out of the field, you know, Sean Daniels came up to me and he just told me, expect to score. And, you know, and I thought about it for the second that I had, you know, and I was like, yeah, you know, I am expecting to score. I had already thought about that. But, you know, to have other players reinforce it and, you know, they're expecting to score too, you know, it just shows that they have confidence in you. And, you know, as I got into the huddle, you know, I looked in the players' eyes and, you know, they're ready to go. And the linemen, you know, you could see that they were going to protect me and the receivers are going to run the routes. And, you know, it's just a matter of me staying poised and just doing what I know how to do.
What does a drive like that and a game like that do for the confidence of this team?
Especially coming off a season we had last year where we didn't really have too many drives or anything. You know, the players now see that, you know, at least Kevin Mason is going to be a leader, you know, whether it's from the beginning or to the end. And whether it's, you know, myself or Reggie Slack, they have confidence knowing that they're going to get the job done.
So is this now Kevin Mason's team?
I'm not going to say that. I think it's Kevin Mason and Reggie Slack's team. It's the first game, and, you know, things went well. Reggie's been hurt, and, you know, it's a matter of him coming back, and, you know, we're both going to see some playing time. And it's just a matter of, you know, is one of us going to step up or not? I don't know. You know, we're helping each other out, and our main focus is to win.
And these are the numbers last week for Kevin Mason. 247 yards, a couple of big bombs thrown in there, and a couple of TDs, and the one interception. But the key stat, the 5 for 5 in that last drive that won it for Saskatchewan. Now, I personally did find it interesting that Jim Daly didn't exactly give him a vote of confidence this week after that drive, albeit he had a fairly average performance up until that point. Les, was that a good move or bad move by Daly?
Well, you know, the only reason why Coach Daly was talking like that is because Reggie Slack had such a great camp. And if he has such a great camp, how can he lose out just because he was injured?
Well, that's true, Les. The only thing is that I think from a coaching standpoint, this is a great situation for Coach Daly. I think how he handles it as far as dealing with the media and the quarterbacks is one thing, but if he feels like he's got two capable guys, that's good for the Saskatchewan fans.
Bob, I don't think there's any question that Mason deserves another start after the accomplishment of last week. He won the game for them in the last minute. But I did speak to Reggie Slack on the field during the warm-ups, and he said he has been told by Coach Daly that he will be put into the game eventually, that he's recovered from the separated clavicle and the sprained rib, so he will be in the game at some point, he is told.
Well, no quarterback could claim the legend with the Saskatchewan Roughriders as old number 23, Ronnie Lancaster, the field general, who was here at Taylor Field for years, and now, of course, a visitor as head coach of the Edmonton Eskimos. And earlier, Lancaster reflected on some of the greater days here at Taylor Field.
You have to remember that I lived in the city of Regina for, I think, 19 years. My oldest daughter, Lana, and Ronnie, who's coaching with me, went to all their schooling here, all the way through. We had a lot of good friends here and played a lot of football at this stadium. And you can't come into Regina to play the Saskatchewan Roughriders without the hype getting you. I mean, they talk football here 12 months a year, and just being in town for this game, you run into people and they're talking about, hey, it's nice seeing you, but we don't want to wish you any luck while you're here. And but when you come out here, you know two things: that the Riders always play well here, and two, the fans are always in the game. So it's an exciting place to play, and it hasn't changed for me in a long time. You can get anything at any time of year. I mean, it might be July, it might be August, but it could snow. But I know this: we've only won a couple games here since I've been coaching, and both of the games that I've won here, we've had to stop the game during the third quarter because the thunderstorms rolled in and we had to take time out. So I guess if the thunderstorms come in, I should be kind of happy, because when it hasn't rained, we've got our rear ends kicked here. So weather is always a factor at Taylor Field. I used to tell a joke all the time when I spoke at a lot of dinners here that the wind would blow in the winter, spring, and summer, and Lancaster would blow playoff games in the fall. But and no matter when you play at Taylor Field, the wind's going to be a factor. I played a long time in this stadium, and I really can't think of anyone right off the top. What I always thought was great in this game to begin with was just the ability and I guess the luck to line up and play week after week and not miss many games and have the fun that I had playing. And I enjoyed the games, and I enjoy football. So I think every minute on the field was kind of exciting for me. They're right on top of you. They're very knowledgeable fans. They talk football 12 months a year. They know what they're talking about. I mean, it's nothing to have a practice here and have 200-300 people at practice. And no matter where you go on Coffee Row, man, you get inundated with questions about football. And that's any time of year. And this is a great stadium to play in. There's a certain mystique about playing here that the Saskatchewan fans have been told for 40 years or 100 years that they're the greatest fans in football, and they believe it. And when they come here, they make enough noise and they let you know they're here. And there's something exciting about playing in front of an enthusiastic crowd on a nice evening or afternoon. It's a good football setting, and I think that's all you can ask as a coach or a player.
Oh, just imagine all the memories Ron Lancaster chalked up as a player here at Taylor Field. And he talked about the weather so much. Windy now. It was pretty gruesome not long ago, but the fans out and excited about this game. And yes, Marty York, you are just a legend right now. But I also, in addition to talking to the legend, would like to talk to Obi and Les about their memories of Taylor Field. An hour and a half ago, it looked like it was going to be a ridiculous storm here, and now it's beautiful weather. What do you remember?
You know what they say about the West out here is that if you wait a half hour, the weather's going to change. What we used to do when we came into Taylor Field is that because the second quarter is the longest quarter in a football game, that you always deferred to toss so you could get the ball in the second half or whatever, and you had the second quarter to go against the wind.
That's a no-brainer. Take the win in the fourth quarter. This is the first time I've been at Taylor Field that I haven't wanted to kick the butts of the Roughriders that I've been on the field. And when I saw Al Ford, I was going to tell him that, but
What's funny is they still want to kick your butt, though, for some reason, Bob. I can't figure that out.
It's fantastic being a part of Rider Pride. It really is. I even wore my green jacket because of that.
Well, you know, what's excellent about playing here as well is the fan support these people have for their team out here. And it's kind of like they're close to the field. It's kind of like playing in Hamilton where the city, you know, is really close to the field and they get involved in the game. These fans get involved in the game so much they make you mad.
And that's through some years, though, where they haven't had a lot to cheer about. But looking this year, first time in the 90s to go 2-0 if they can win tonight.
You know, another point I was going to make is that in the 96 Grey Cup, the Saskatchewan fans showed this league what real fan support is. And they've been so loyal to this league for such a long time that it would be tremendous if they had a great season this year.
Bob and Les, do the guys in the league think that these are the best fans in the CFL? Do the players and coaches feel that way?
I think so.
I think so all across. And I think it's the Prairie Cities, period, because in Winnipeg, you can't beat them either.
Yeah.
Well, head-to-head, we talked about it before and how Edmonton leads that one. But back in 1996, it was a split. They first met in July here at Taylor Field, and Saskatchewan won that one. Aaron Ruffin, a big punt return of 99 yards, and they won it by 3. But then the next month, Edmonton got back, winning that one 25-8. Who will win this one? This fan hopes it's Saskatchewan. Friday Night Football, coming right back. In here at Taylor Field. Now Ford telling us before he expects about 25,000 here for this game against the Edmonton Eskimos. So far, the law of the CFL West in 97, close finishes where the team trailing after 3 quarters comes back and wins it by a point. And again, at BC Place, that was the story against Calgary. Jeff Garcia and that Stampeder offense looked simply unstoppable early in the game. Here, Garcia hitting Travis Moore for the touchdown. He has a thing or two to say to Eddie Thomas afterwards and gets a penalty for it. 7-0 Stampeders. End of the quarter, the Lions give Calgary 2 easy points. Damon Allen colliding with Sean Millington, losing the football, covers it up in the end zone for the safety. Early second, it's 10-0 Calgary. Lions show some life. Al Shipman. He's had a lot of returns so far early in this season. Here's another 33 yards, some nifty moves along the way, and helps the Lions get on the board. Louis Pasaglia from 35 yards out. At the time, it makes it 10-3. It's 13-3 Calgary at the half. In the fourth quarter, the Lions come back. Allen hitting Corey Philpott here at the end of a long drive, 7 yards out. Touchdown, making it 16-10 Stamps. Then late in the fourth, more BC. Allen calls his number. The quarterback draw, season opening, and runs right through at 11 yards to the Stamps 4-yard line. And then on 2nd and goal from the 1, Allen calls his number again and finds the end zone. With the convert, BC would go ahead by 1. It comes down to this, a Mark McLaughlin field goal attempt. and it goes wide. Al Shipman needs to bring it out to avoid the tie game and just barely gets it out of the end zone. So the BC Lions come back and do it, winning their first game at dejected McLaughlin, 17-16 Lions. Boy, you couldn't help but feel for Mark McLaughlin, whose father passed away last week. But I really don't think that McLaughlin should incur much of the blame anyway, Marty. I don't think Calgary should have been in this situation in the first place.
Oh, Rod, I agree with you for a change. I think that the offense is really out of sync. I think that Jeff Garcia really misses Alan Pitts and Dave Sapunches. That offense just doesn't seem like they're the same offense without those two guys.
Well, I want to tell you what really changed it around for BC is that they came out so vanilla, as we heard before. But they did. They came out, they played a lot of zone, and they just sat back and they let Calgary do what they wanted to them. And then they came out the second quarter and they blitzed him. They put a lot of pressure on him.
The one thing that surprised me, though, is with that veteran ball club that they have, is that they didn't try to take advantage of Frank Pimmerskin as a halfback when they had the injury in the secondary. And as far as the two teams, the one good thing about BC winning is I think that's really good for their franchise right now, and it's probably critical for the CFL in interest. And as much as I like Calgary, that was a heck of a win for BC.
Yeah, I was going to say, Wally doesn't want to hear that right now.
Now, Bob, are you still sticking with your prediction of Calgary in first?
Yep.
I'm still sticking with mine, Calgary in last. I mean, I think it's going to take a long time.
Well, you're at least going to stick with it here at Taylor Field. I dare you, after all this.
Are we going to Calgary?
I just dare you to change your prediction now.
Well, that was
Calgary. Yeah, right, next time. That wasn't the only game in the CFL last night. It was the Winnipeg Blue Bombers looking to rebound after a tough one at Skydome last week against the ever-so-tough Montreal Alouettes at Winnipeg Stadium. Tracy Ham gets the Alouettes going early on. Can't find a receiver, does what he does best, scrambles around, eluding George Noga and gets upfield. Lots of room, and Ham just keeps moving. Inside the 15, down to the 2-yard line to set up the first points of this ball game. Scored here. Mike Pringle from 2 yards away. It's 7-0 Alouettes. The Blue Bombers respond, and they do it through the air. Chris Vargas looking for Milt Stegall. Deep over the middle, a 49-yard completion down to Montreal's 16, and that leads to this score. Vargas to Alan Boyko. On the quick slant, it is a tie game at 7. Montreal regains the lead. Ham keeping the ball on the option 3 yards out. It's 14-7 Alouettes. And then the Alouette defense coming up strong. Larry McSeed hammering Vargas, forcing the fumble. Swift Birch recovers for Montreal. And the Alouettes would get more. They make it count. Ham choosing to pitch to Mike Pringle this time, and Pringle goes in for one of his 2 touchdowns, and it's 21-7. Bombers make the comeback in the 4th. Ronald Williams cuts the lead here to 7 points on that 1-yard plunge, and then Vargas looks to the end zone to Ted Alford. He's interfered with by Douglas Kraft, and that sets up another Williams touchdown to tie the game at 21. Jeff Reinbold looking for that first win ever as a CFL coach, but won't get it. That's Terry Baker in the last play of the game. Time runs out in the Bombers, and the Alouettes win it. 30 yards away for Baker, 27-24. Montreal improving to 2-0. And for the moment, first place in the CFL East pending the Argo result on Sunday. Well, the Saskatchewan Roughriders looking to go to 2-0, and these fans haven't seen that since 1989, the year they won the Grey Cup. Boy, they love Marty York. The presentations never seem to end here.
I'm getting more adulation from these two than I do from my sons, Justin and Brendan.
Little presentation from a couple of the golfers here. Big fans of yours, Marty.
God,
they're looking to get paid,
Beautiful.
you know.
Well, listen, I want to talk about last night's
freebies here.
Yes, you do. I want to talk about last night's game in Montreal and Winnipeg. And Les, the Alouettes, you were a guest coach there in training camp, and not getting the recognition at home yet. They're hoping that changes, but this does look like a team on the move.
It is a team on the move, and I think the best aspect about Montreal's team right now is Tracy Ham is playing at the top of his game right now. He is running the ball real well, and he is throwing the ball real well, and I think the receivers underneath Dave Ritchie has been getting on them hard. They have worked their butts off to get open.
But you know what, Les? I think that Winnipeg put up much more of a fight than I expected. I think anybody expected. That team made so many changes. I thought they were going to get blown out of that game last night.
Well, the other thing about Montreal, I'm still not sure that they have the receiving core to go along with that good running game, because I think they're still looking for that quality wide receiver to help break open those games so that they can rely on the running game as well.
Well, Winnipeg back in the East Division after being in the West for a year again, and maybe they like it in the East, given the way how things look so tough in the West Division. The rule is it's got to be a close game, and we're expecting another close one here tonight at Taylor Field. Coming up, we'll preview the Argos and the Ticats on Friday Night Football. The rivalry resumes. The Ticats and the Argonauts on CFL Live on Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. The Argos looked pretty good, could have looked better in demolishing Winnipeg last week. Hamilton, though, still looking for answers. Gino Retta has more.
4 new starters in the defensive secondary, 3 new receivers, a new starting running back, not to mention a host of new linemen and linebackers. Almost half their roster is new. So it's little wonder the Ticats had such a hard time in their season opener against the Alouettes.
We have a lot of new players and a brand new offense once again. And we've been adjusting and everybody trying to get on the same page. And, you know, we're starting to build up to that. You know, we would have hoped we would have gotten on the same page quicker, but we haven't yet.
For the most part, AC is having a little problems with some of the play-pass action, things like that. But we've got him in the shotgun at times, and we got him under the center. So it's starting to come together a little bit the third and fourth quarter in Montreal, but we've got a ways to go yet with our offense.
In a perfect world, the Ticats want to be a running game first offense. And while their new key man is officially a rookie, after stints in the NFL and World League, Marcus Thomas may be new to the league, but not to the game.
Most difficult thing, I think, for me, was getting used to all the motion. That's just something just never been accustomed to. You know, you sit still, and when you hit a snap, that's when you go. So, but it wasn't too hard getting used to it.
While Marcus Thomas may take a little while getting used to all the motion in the CFL offense, it hasn't taken him any time at all getting used to the emotion that goes into a Toronto-Hamilton matchup. And with that game set for this Sunday here at Iverwood Stadium, Thomas is already beginning to stir the pot.
These guys just go nuts. You know, and it's like Hamilton people don't like Toronto people and vice versa. And so since me being in Hamilton, you know, I don't like Toronto either.
This is my first game in Hamilton as a Tiger Cat, and the last time I was here, I was hoisting the Grey Cup right about over there. So I'm looking forward to a little fun on the field.
Yes, the last time the Argonauts visited Iverwood, they left with the Grey Cup. So the Ticats know they'll have their hands full on Sunday. For Friday Night Football, I'm Gino Retta.
All right, thank you, Gino. Hey, we all know what the Argos bring to the table. These are troubled times for the Ticats, who lost to the Alouettes in Montreal last week by 10, but really some struggles in offense. Bad time to face the Argos, I would assume.
Well, I don't really think that Hamilton should be pushing the panic button this early in the season, but we do hear that they don't know what they're going to do with their offense, you know, and I think that you should have that clarified by training camp. And our doctor of dirt, Marty York, hears that there's some turmoil in Hamilton.
Well, the big fullback that the Ticats were praising in preseason, Marcus Holiday, has taken a holiday. He cleaned, I don't know if he cleaned out his locker, but he took off after he was told that he wasn't going to be playing this game against Toronto. There are a lot of question marks about Sudsy's offense right now within that camp. And I have a feeling they're going to get absolutely blown out by Toronto in Hamilton on Sunday.
Except there's one thing, that the Toronto Argonauts and the Hamilton Ticats have such a great rivalry. If there's ever a game that gets you jacked up about playing, this might be just what Coach Southern needs to get that psychological edge and maybe give Toronto more than they think.
And one thing about Don Southern, he calls the best defenses possible to play against Doug Flutie.
Well, just a thought about tonight's game. I mean, this is big. A lot of fans here at Taylor Field excited about the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Les, just sum it up for us.
Oh, you know what? It's just exciting to be here. Saskatchewan's the pride of CFL.
It is exciting to be here, and for our fans in Saskatchewan, in Regina, this is goodbye for now. The game blacked out locally, but we will have it for you later on at 1 o'clock a.m. local time for Regina to see this game. But the game is coming up. Lancaster's Eskimos getting set for Saskatchewan, and Jim Daly. The opening kickoff is coming up. One of these teams will go to 2-0 and sole possession of first place in the CFL West. Friday Night Football is next. For coaches, big last-minute wins could make gray hairs grayer. Just ask Ron Lancaster and Jim Daly. Their team season openers providing nail-biting excitement to the end. Edmonton rallied in the final minutes of its game, beating Calgary to win its 20th consecutive season opener. Tony Burse finishing it off for the Eskimos. Meanwhile, for the Roughriders, the pressure was clearly on Kevin Mason, and he came through when others weren't so sure that he could. And so tonight, Lancaster and Daly meet. Who will leave the wiser? Who will leave the grayer?
We're gonna kick back and relax, watching football on a Friday night. It's Friday, and we're gonna be hard to take. It's Friday, coast to coast, the CFL is Canada's game. Well, we're all pumped up to party, and we're ready for a fight. Come on, kick back and relax, watching Friday Night Football. Boys, it's too bad when CFL football game is up for grabs. It's Friday Night Football tonight.
Live from Taylor Field in Regina, it's the Edmonton Eskimos and the Saskatchewan Roughriders on Friday Night Football. And as usual, we are live and interactive here at TSN, and you can play QB1 throughout this football game. And hi again, everybody, and welcome to Taylor Field in Regina. We are thrilled to be here for an exciting game we certainly expect between the Edmonton Eskimos and the Saskatchewan Roughriders for early sole possession of first in the CFL West. Joined as usual by Bob Ovilovich, the coach, Les Brown, and Marty York of the Globe and Mail. And before we begin talking about the game, Marty, we got to get to your picks because you have other things to worry about.
Yeah, way above the Call of Duty. But anyway, listen, Rod, Las Vegas has made the Eskimos 2.5-point favorites here in Regina. And guess who I like? I love the home team to at least cover the spread. I've said since the preseason that I think Saskatchewan is the best in the West. I'm not about to change my mind now. I talked to a number of the Saskatchewan players before the game, and believe me when I tell you, they have a different attitude this year. Rider pride's not just talk anymore. It's for real. So I say take the Roughriders plus the points.
Well, he is extra pumped about the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Called them for first at preseason. But Marty York is going off now to, yes, the ceremonial kickoff. He was invited by the Saskatchewan Roughriders to do that. So head off, Marty, and good luck trying to get it more than 10 yards. Hey, we're just along for the ride. Let's go up to the experts now in the booth. Glenn Suter, along with Gord Miller and David Archer, guys.
All right, Rod, thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Taylor Field. You know, since Kent Austin left here after the '93 season, the Saskatchewan Roughriders have had 9 different starting quarterbacks. They insist this year it's not a quarterbacking controversy, David. But why, after Kevin Mason played so well last week, would Jim Daly add fuel to the fire by waiting to name his starting quarterback?
Well, there's 2 trains of thought here, Gord. If you're Kevin Mason, you want that immediate confidence builder saying, hey, you're my guy. You're the guy that played well for me, brought me back from behind, won the ball game for me last week. The other train of thought is I'm Reggie Slack. I won the job coming out of training camp, but I got hurt in the last preseason game. The job's mine. I think the best thing for Jim Daly is he's got 2 good quarterbacks, and the thing that he's got going for him is he's going to play both tonight.
All right, and Glenn Suter, when you talk about the Edmonton Eskimos, this is a team that for the last 3 or 4 years has really been carried by its defense. Last year, the #1 ranked defense in the Canadian Football League, but you get the sense that this year, maybe it's time for the offense to carry the load.
Well, they've made changes on defense, and that's what they're concerned about. And the offense will have to carry the load, and it'll be the 3 receivers, Darren Flutie, Eddie Brown, and Robert Gordon, that are going to have to do it. All are highlight films in themselves. All can get it done. But tonight, the key will be how well they get off the jam, because Saskatchewan's going to try and hit them, get them out of their timing, and it'll be the key if they can get out of that jam or not.
Both these teams won in the last second in week #1. In this series, Saskatchewan has won 4 of the last 5 meetings at Taylor Field. Rod?
Okay, thank you, Gord. Well, a good way for both of these teams to start last week. I want to ask you first, Obi, about that Edmonton Eskimo defense and how strong it is in its front 7. Still a lot of experience there despite the changes.
Well, that's the strength of their football team, no question. They still got veteran guys there that can rush the quarterback, and they can do it with just 4 guys getting upfield with Benny Goods and Leroy Ballou and Malcolm Hunter, those kind of people.
You know, Coach, they've had 2 changes in the front 7, and that's with Tommy Henry at linebacker and Bruce Dixon on the inside. Now, with those 2 changes, we hear in the newspapers how they're talking about they're not bringing in enough pressure. They're not as physical as they were last year. I don't think the 2 changes can change your team like that.
I don't think it's so much that, Les. I think it's in the secondary where they've got some changes, and they've got a new defensive coordinator. They lost Greg Newhouse, who did such a great job last year, and Brad Miller, who coached the defensive line, is taken over as the coordinator, and Jim Hillis is coaching the defensive line.
Hey, listen, guys, I'd like to sit here and just talk about this game tonight, but more pressing matters, Marty York just went out just moments ago and did his ceremonial kickoff, and I say sign him up. First straight-on guy at Taylor Field since Jack Abendschan. Now, they didn't show you how far that was. We'll have to ask Marty about that.
I think it went about 70 yards.
Blown right in. Tell me, how long was that kick? Don't lie now.
Truly? Yeah, national
truly.
television audience. About 12 yards.
Did you do it? I told you. Did you take the win?
That's why I went only 12 yards,
the win? He was kicking against the wind. What a dummy.
We don't see the straight-on kickers much anymore, you know? You should try the soccer stuff.
All I know is Louis Pasaglia doesn't have to worry. But then again, he couldn't write a column either.
Well, getting set for the opening kickoff, the real kickoff, here for the Edmonton Eskimos and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And with that, let's throw it upstairs now to Gord and Glenn and David, guys.
Thank you, Rod. A gorgeous evening in southern Saskatchewan. It's rained twice today, but now the conditions have held off. The sun is shining. The sky is clear mostly. You expect a nice night for football, and what do you know? There isn't a whole lot of wind. Ron Lancaster spent 16 years here as a Hall of Fame player and coached the Riders in 80 and 81. Is back as the Edmonton Eskimo head coach in his 7th year for the Green and Gold. His first game as a CFL coach for Edmonton was right here at Taylor Field. Jim Daly's in his 2nd year as the head man for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Saskatchewan has won 48 games in the 90s. 33 of those games have been right here at Taylor Field. They are very strong at home. As we mentioned, the conditions have held off pretty nicely tonight. The wind from the west at 17 kilometers an hour, so it moves from left to right as you see it on your television screen. Edmonton will receive. Paul McCallum will kick it off. A big crowd here at Taylor Field. These 2 teams opened with wins in heartbreaking fashion for the visiting team last week, or for the losing team last week. But Saskatchewan and Edmonton energized by last-second wins in week number 1. Henry the Gizmo Williams is back deep to receive. He's on the right. Eric Blunt is back on the left side to receive the kickoff from Paul McCallum of the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
You know, the turf's a little wet tonight, Gord, and I think it helps the turf here at Taylor Field. Glenn, you played here a lot of times, but it seems that this has got a sand base to it, and it seems like it settles the sand a little bit and you get a little bit better grip.
It does, but it also messes with the mind of the visiting team, because I was down in the tunnel with the Edmonton Eskimos. They put on about 4 or 5 different pair of shoes in the warm-up, so could mess with their psyche a little bit.
Paul McCallum is set to kick it off, and we are set to get underway in week number 2 of Friday Night Football, live from Taylor Field. McCallum sends it short. And is fielded there by Mark Tobert, and Tobert takes a shot from Dale Joseph, but the Edmonton Eskimos will have excellent field position at the 41-yard line, just a 34-yard kickoff. Danny McManus, the 32-year-old, in his 8th CFL season, directs the Edmonton attack. Only Doug Flutie passed for more yards in 1996. The offensive line has 3 men who have been named to CFL All-Star teams: Vic Stevenson, Rod Conop, and Leo Groenweg. And the receiving core is a veteran group: Eddie Brown, Robert Gordon outside, Darren Flutie, Don Blair inside, with Blunt and Verse in the backfield. Edmonton ran the most plays in the Canadian Football League last year. They spotted the 42. McManus up quickly throwing, finds Eddie Brown on the receiver screen, and Eddie Brown over across the 50 gets up to the 52-yard line, a pickup of close to 10 yards and close to an Edmonton first down. The front 7 for the Saskatchewan Roughriders has some additions that will make you raise your eyebrows. John Kropke and Will Johnson are both been all-star performers elsewhere. And in the defensive backfield, Vincent Donaldson, number 24, is one of the best cover guys in the Canadian Football League. Patrick Burke, the former Ottawa Rough Rider, plays on the other side.
First play right off the stop, Gord, they want to get everybody involved. We talked to Ronnie yesterday, and Ron said that he wanted to get all his receivers involved. Glenn talked about the great receiving core that Edmonton has this year. Eddie Brown, the first guy out of the box tonight, catches a little quick screen with the other receivers in front of him and picks up a first down.
Eddie Brown has played for 5 teams in his Canadian Football League career, but his best success has always been with Edmonton. He's had 3 1,000-yard receiving seasons. All 3 times he was wearing the green and gold of the Edmonton Eskimos.
And, you know, just to expand a little bit, formation-wise, Edmonton threw a wrinkle in there. It was like a fire drill for the Saskatchewan defense on first down. So we'll see what they come with on second if they go back to that base lineup.
Four-man backfield for a moment for Edmonton. Now they move in motion to the wide side of the field, and McManus will give it off. And this is Tony Burst, the fullback, and Burst into Saskatchewan territory, gets down to the 51-yard line. Well, the story for the Edmonton Eskimos the last couple of years, this year and last, has been Danny McManus. And last year, he threw a league-leading 27 interceptions. Over the past 2 years, he's thrown 53 picks. But he says this year, a lot easier. You know the guys, the philosophy, and the system. First time in his CFL career, he's had the same offensive coordinator 2 years in a row.
And that's huge.
Jr.
That's huge to have an opportunity to work with the same group in the same situation.
2nd and 3, flags are down. There was early movement. Tony Burst will have the first down as he climbs down to the 45-yard line. There was all kinds of early movement by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. You can see K.D. Williams saying, "That time it was me."
Gordon, that's called an adrenaline offside call. You know, the first part of the game, you're pretty pumped up on defense, and K.D. Williams is going to come on the linebacker blitz right from the middle. He's the one that's going to come offside on the play.
Referee today is Bud Steen.
Offside, Saskatchewan 43, penalties declined, first down.
Edmonton will take the first down.
Yeah, you're going to see K.D. right in the middle of your screen, right here. He's going to try and come up the middle on the middle linebacker blitz. Gets a little excited early in the game. The adrenaline's pumping. In there way too early.
Pick up on that last play for Tony Burst was 7 yards. First down, Edmonton. From the 44, Eric Blunt with his first carry. Big hole up the middle. Burst has a first down, or Blunt rather has a first down as he gets down to the 31-yard line. Eric Blunt finished 2nd in the CFL in rushing a year ago. Only Robert Mims of the Saskatchewan Roughriders ran for more yards.
Well, Leo Groenwagen throws the big block here on number 71. Right to the top of your screen there, Bobby Jurison, and that's what springs Eric Blunt early in this game.
And we've got an injured Edmonton Eskimo on the play. It's Don Blair. Blair, who was the first player taken in the '96 draft out of the University of Calgary, appears to be shaken up. And while the Edmonton Eskimos have an excellent starting receiving corps, they are a little thin in that department. Mark Tobert is the backup for Don Blair, who has been around for a couple of years. But the Eskimos don't have a lot of people around that can play both outside and inside. And we'll see if we can have a look at what happened to Mr. Blair.
Well, Donnie Blair is just trying to get in. All good receivers want to make a nice block, try to spring the running, and he actually does get the block that springs Blunt on the play. Got the block on Lamar McGriggs there, but I think he took a knee in the back of the head there. Glenn, you've had that happen to you.
Well, yeah, that just knocks you cold for a little bit. He's out there going, okay, where are you? Okay, what day is it? What's your first name? And if you get one of the 3 right, you go back in.
That's true.
Well, you know, we've talked about the crowd here at Taylor Field, and it's a very big crowd here this evening for the Riders' first home game in 1997. And one thing that Ron Lancaster knows as a quarterback here and elsewhere is you got to have stability at quarterbacking. Danny McManus gives him that.
Certain things like interceptions go with the territory of being a quarterback, and if you let it bother you, it can really bother you. Danny's one of those kind of guys that he kind of rolls with it. I mean, I know deep down he doesn't like it and all that stuff, but he rolls with it and he doesn't let it bother his game. But you live with all that kind of stuff. You know, Danny's just the kind of guy that he'll catch his share of heat again this year. There's no question it's going to come. But if there's anybody that I've ever met in this league at any time in the past 36 years that can handle criticism, he is #1 by far. He's unbelievable at it.
And McManus complete there to Eric Blunt for a gain of 9 yards. There is something to be said for demeanor, and it helped win Danny McManus a Grey Cup ring with the BC Lions.
Well, McManus has the best guy possibly to be his coach. Ronnie Lancaster threw more interceptions in this league than anybody did, and he has the same demeanor that McManus has.
Oh, look out on 2nd and short. Tony Burst gets stuck. Will Johnson got in there. Henry Newby got in there. LeBrant Robinson got in there, and that play was doomed from the start.
Will Johnson does a super job of collapsing the pocket and reestablishing the line of scrimmage. Here he is right here. He's just going to knife down on Leo Groenwagen and stop this play cold in its tracks right there before Blunt has a chance, or excuse me, Burst has a chance to make a move.
John Kropke in there as well, forces a field goal try for the Edmonton Eskimos from just outside the 31-yard line. Sean Fleming had a career-high field goal percentage a year ago of 82.1%, but missed his only try in Calgary last week. Jim Kemp, the former Saskatchewan quarterback, is his holder. Fleming puts it up and puts it through, and the Edmonton Eskimos draw first blood on their opening drive. The Eskimos take it into Saskatchewan territory and get 3. Friday Night Football returns to Regina after this.
Friday Night Football tonight.
Friday Night Football on TSN is brought to you by Advantage, providing solutions for business. And by Gatorade. Life is a sport. Drink it up.
Great night for football. The Saskatchewan Roughriders trail 3-0 as Kevin Mason directs the attack after leading Saskatchewan to its come-from-behind victory over the BC Lions last week. Saskatchewan starts 1st and 10 at its 35. On first down, the give goes to Robert Mims. Mims picks his way back to the middle, out across the 40 to the 43-yard line. Trent Brett comes up to help make the stop, but it's a gain of 8 yards. Kevin Mason, a second-year man out of Syracuse University, threw 3 touchdown passes last year against 3 interceptions, and he'll face this Edmonton Eskimo front 7 that led the Canadian Football League in quarterback sacks last year. The Eskimos had 70 sacks a year ago. The second-ranked team in the league, Winnipeg, had only 48. The Edmonton Eskimos also had plenty of picks. Kavis Reed and Glenn Rogers tied for second in the league with 7 each. Second down. And the give goes back to Sean Daniels. Daniels has a first down as he gets out to the 50-yard line. We'll set the rest of the Saskatchewan Roughrider offense for you. A couple of changes from a year ago, most notably the center Carl Coulter, who comes over from the BC Lions in a trade. John Terry, Scott Hendrickson, Gene Makowski returned from last year, and a good veteran receiving core, Narcisse and Mayfield on the outside, Farthing and Harris inside. Daniels and Mims joined Kevin Mason in the backfield. Don Narcisse last year had his 7-year streak of 1,000-yard seasons broken when he had 906 yards receiving. On first down. Oh, collision, the ball is loose, and it appears the Edmonton Eskimos have it back. Miscommunication in the backfield, and it does appear that the Edmonton Eskimos have taken advantage of the first turnover of this football game. And it is indeed Edmonton Eskimo football. Wow, what a break for Edmonton.
Well, the timing was messed up from the beginning of this play. Makowski from the top of your screen, number 60, is going to pull, and it doesn't look like he gets out there in time. McCready messes it up in the backfield, and then when Mason turns around, he gets all tied up with Robert Mims.
Well, Mason is expecting a handoff underneath here. I mean, towards closer to the line of scrimmage as opposed to being over the top behind him. And obviously, Mims was expecting an over-the-top handoff, and more often than not, the running back is at fault in that situation than the quarterback.
Of course, yeah, of course he is. McManus over the top. Eddie Brown has the catch down the 21-yard line. The Edmonton Eskimos strike quickly as Brown with the over-the-shoulder catch has 28 yards after Bruce Dixon recovered that fumble.
It was pretty nice coverage by Patrick Burke, but Eddie Brown did a nice job of not letting Burke know when the ball was going to arrive into his hands. He's going to run straight down the sideline, just look at it and stick his hands out at the last minute, and that's just a good all-around football play.
See, to play bump and run against Eddie Brown, I think, is a mistake, first of all. And second of all, you at least got to jam him at the line of scrimmage. Burke just opened the gate up there and let Eddie run by, and Eddie's one of the fast receivers in the league.
Eddie Brown out of Iowa State, like someone else we know, Dave Archer.
That's right. He went to the right school.
Did he?
Yes, he did.
Probably the greatest offensive player they've ever had, right? at least in the 80s and 90s.
He was one of the top 2. Yeah.
Who was the fastest?
I'd like to see the times for Dave Archer at Iowa State. He was a Cyclone by name only. First down for the 21. McManus has it knocked down. The pass batted brought down by Will Johnson. A basketball-style rejection by the man who's led the CFL in sacks twice in '91 and in '94.
Thomas Raham is working on Will Johnson right at the top of your screen right here. He's going to come upfield. Now the defensive line is taught, if you can't get pressure on the quarterback, get your hands up. It's exactly what Will Johnson does, and that's not a bad vertical.
Now,
vertical? Was that a vertical?
Well, it looked like you get at least a credit card underneath there.
Or the phone book. Second down. Saskatchewan shows blitz. Here it comes. McManus unloads quickly, intercepted. Lamar McGriggs. And McGriggs is up and running. Wants the lateral and done. It's picked up and now still going. Dale Joseph up the sideline. Dale Joseph. Touchdown. Wow. It's McManus to McGriggs to Joseph to the end zone.
That's the exact reason they brought Lamar McGriggs here with the #1 pick of the draft of the guys from Ottawa. Lamar has a nose for the football, and Darren Flutie creates this interception because he leaves some indecision in Danny McManus's mind as to where it's going to go.
Well, McManus read the safety blitz. Bryce Bevel was coming up the middle on the blitz. K.D. Williams was coming off the corner. You see number 30 in the middle of your screen. Williams provides the pressure. Flutie, like you said, David, wasn't sure where to go and hesitated. And Lamar McGriggs, Johnny on the spot, picks it off. And then the heads-up play to get it to Joseph, a guy who's maybe a bit quicker than Lamar.
All told, the play goes 95 yards. Paul McCallum has the point after, and this tough Saskatchewan defense has the first points of the game for the Green Riders. 7:58 to play in the first quarter. Saskatchewan leads 7-3. Dale Joseph finishes off what Lamar McGriggs and the Saskatchewan front started. And we talked about some indecision between quarterback and receiver, and it cost the Eskimos dearly.
Well, here's the pressure by K.D. Williams. Now, Danny McManus makes the right read. Here comes the pitch late.
And Dale Joseph off to the races. It's a 95-yard play. Give McGriggs the first 10 and give Dale Joseph the rest.
Watch right at the end here, Gord. Here comes Darren Flutie in to try to strip the ball out. He realized that he made a mistake there and left Danny out to dry a little bit and tried to come back and make up for it.
Now, an interesting statistical note for Dale Joseph now. He now has an 85-yard interception return. He does not, however, have an interception. Henry Williams from the 17-yard line. Here comes the Giz, waiting for a block. And look who saves the touchdown. Dale Joseph comes up with the tackle. He goes 85 yards one way. Now he's going to track down a pretty good special teams player going the other. Henry Williams breaks it out and gives the Edmonton Eskimo good field position. Well, Henry Williams had contemplated retirement at the start of this year. He says, I may not be as fast as I was. I still have a burst. Ain't no one going to catch me. And he says that if he stays healthy this year and has a good year, he might just come back next year.
I think that it's going to be tough to get Giz out of this game. They're going to have to drag Giz away from this field because he loves it too much, and I think the community of Edmonton loves him just as much, so it'll be tough to get Giz out of the lineup. I think the thing that's interesting about Giz, we saw the kickoff return there. He's only returned one kickoff in the regular season in his career for a touchdown, but has 24 punt returns for a touchdown. I found that as an amazing stat, considering how successful he's been in returns.
Injured player is Chris Zarka, first-year man out of Northern Illinois, a native of Vancouver, who was a second-round pick of the Riders. And it's an interesting point that in this game, punt returns are much more lethal than kickoff returns. Is there a reason for that, Clint?
Well, I think it's the 5-yard rule. I mean, when you're on the punt cover team, you got to break down 5 yards before you get to the ball. Now, that gives that some seams are created when you do that. When you have to slow your momentum down, break down, you can create seams, and I think that's what it does. It allows the guys that are blocking you as well to come down and get angles on you.
Chris Zarka appears to be all right, number 32, and we'll see if we can find out what happened to him. He's at the left of your screen. Right there. Ooh, somebody was all over.
I think that was Jed Roberts. Pretty good special teams work.
That's the wrong area of the anatomy to be hitting the guy, though. Isn't the back the wrong place to block a guy? It looked like he was being blocked in the back. I'm sure he'll point that out on the films tomorrow when they check him out.
Zarka has a smile. Danny McManus is 3 for 5, but that INT stands out as it was returned for a touchdown. On first down, this is Eric Blunt. Out across the 50 he goes for a pickup of maybe 3. Bobby Jurison comes up to make the stop. Well, this Saskatchewan defense has plenty of veterans, and some of them have been around in Saskatchewan for a while, too. Bobby Jurison's in his 12th year. LeBrant Robinson's been here for 4 years. But this is a team that has defensive players who know how to get the job done, and they've proven it year after year. Here comes the blitz on McManus. Underneath he goes, and the pass is complete to Robert Gordon. Gordon has a first down into Saskatchewan territory at the 50-yard line. Robert Gordon was Edmonton's first pick in that Ottawa dispersal draft. A teammate of yours, Dave, last year with the Riders.
Bobby's a player that will catch the ball outside and inside, and this is something you don't get from all receivers. Look at him come in traffic, catch the ball, and get the first down. But Bobby's a guy that, or Robert, he likes us to call him Robert. He's officially Robert now, but a guy that will catch the ball anywhere on the field for you.
From the shotgun on first down, McManus slings it up for Eddie Brown between defenders, and Patrick Burke had excellent coverage, got some help from the safety man, Bryce Bevel.
Well, Bryce Bevel was named CFL Player of the Week for his efforts in the BC game, had an interception and also caused a fumble, and Patrick Burke was covering from the outside, and Bryce Bevel provided the safety help from the middle and pretty much had Eddie Brown viced.
Patrick Burke, another former Ottawa Rough Rider, and a good player, too, that a lot of people think can be as good as anyone on the corner covering one-on-one.
Well, he's certainly going to get his opportunities to cover some of the best receivers in the league tonight, and Gordon and Brown and Darren Flutie.
Second down. Here comes the blitz. Lots of time for McManus. Eddie Brown is open one-on-one with Burke, and Eddie Brown very close to a first down as he steps out of bounds up around the Saskatchewan 38-yard line. A pickup of 11 for an Edmonton first down.
This is what's scary as a defensive back when you give Eddie Brown some room. I mean, Patrick Burke backs off and plays a little zone coverage out here. Now watch what he has to deal with. Comes up, breaks down, but that speed from Eddie Brown, he outruns the angle, and it's not for the sideline. He's still running.
And you know what Danny does there is he realizes there's a soft corner out there being playing off, and he pops the ball out there right now to Eddie Brown, let him use his speed.
First, the only back in the backfield takes the handoff, brings it back the other way. Henry Newby drags him down to the 32-yard line. Chalk it up as a gain of 5 for Tony Burst, your former teammate in San Antonio and Sacramento, and really a guy that you used more as a receiving back out of the fullback position.
Tony's a great big guy, weighs about 240 pounds, but the thing that's deceiving about the guy is he can catch the football. He caught several passes. In fact, he caught 7 passes last week for Danny McManus, and he's a guy that's a two-way guy. He can go run the ball and catch the ball.
On second down, McManus, quick throw, and Darren Flutie tiptoes at the sideline, makes the catch. It's another first down, and that combination clicks again. A pickup of 7 yards and another Edmonton first down. When we talk about chemistry between a quarterback and a receiver, clearly Danny McManus and Darren Flutie have it. But, David, how do you get it?
Well, it's just a lot of work with one another. You practice off after practices. You get together and say, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. That's just an option route there. You just pressure breaks off the inside defender, breaks to the outside. McManus very accurate.
On first down, back to the ground. This is Eric Blunt through the middle. Blunt inside the 15, down to the 12. Newby hustles back to make the tackle, but Tony Burst throws the lead block for Eric Blunt. And Blunt has another Edmonton Eskimo first down.
Well, with the defense for Saskatchewan stunned a little bit, you're going to see KD walk out here. Now that ball is going to cut right back here from Eric Blunt, and that's where the hole in the seam is created. You see KD has to come back. He's overrun and then gets blocked out of there by Vic Stevenson. But when you're over pursuing as a defense, you can get caught on those backside running plays.
Gain of 12. Now the toss to Blunt. Through the left side, and he is driven down hard. KD Williams makes up for that with a big hit. Help from Henry Newby on the play, but KD says, fool me once, but you'll never get me twice.
Well, We just talked about pursuit. Now, if you run the ball to the outside, David, pursuit gets you. And this is what happens here.
These linebackers can fly, and this is their strong suit. And KD just runs right by the block of Tony Bursa and wraps up Blunt. But I think what Danny McManus, who's calling all the plays for the Edmonton Eskimos on offense, has done a great job of mixing things up. Short passes, running the football with both backs, distributing the ball. Great drive.
Second down, McManus to the end zone. Flutie, touchdown!
Oh, boy.
A surgical strike by Danny McManus to Darren Flutie, and the Edmonton Eskimos are back on top as the lead changes hands for the third time in the first quarter.
A great way to describe it, Gord. It was a perfectly ran out and up by Darren Flutie, and Tyrell Almer, who was in man-to-man coverage, which you usually are down on the goal line, bit on the out. Flutie ran the up.
You talked about the chemistry between McManus and Flutie. If you remember the out about 3 plays previous, Ulmer was right there, almost knocked the ball down. They realized he was playing a little too tight, took him up.
Darren Flutie had 6 touchdown catches 1 year ago, now has his first of 1997. Sean Fleming for the point after. It is up and good. The Edmonton Eskimos have a 10-7 lead as the Eskimos and the Green Riders are rocking and rolling on a Friday night at Taylor Field. Darren Flutie has a touchdown reception in this game, a CFL All-Star a year ago when he recorded 1,362 yards receiving. Edmonton has a 10-7 lead in a game in which the Saskatchewan Roughriders have run 2 offensive plays in the first quarter. Their touchdown came on an interception return for a major.
The best offense is a good defense, right, David?
Yes. Did I answer that right?
Yeah, that was good. Okay, I'll get you your $20.
Sean Fleming to kick it off, and looking right into the sun is Rod Harris. From his 13-yard line, here comes Harris. Fake the reverse to Mayfield. Here comes Harris all the way up to the 35-yard line. The Edmonton Eskimos kept on their toes. A little razzle-dazzle. Let's take it back to the Flutie touchdown, and Glenn will draw what we talked about a moment ago.
It was a great pattern by Darren Flutie. Here he is right here. He's going to run the out and up, and watch Tyrell Almer bite on the out route. Look back to the quarterback. Danny McManus will look him off and then just toss it up there. Pretty easy pitch and catch.
And Danny McManus with all day to throw it to get the job done. So a touchdown pass for McManus. Now the Riders trying to get something going offensively. Kevin Mason completes it up there. And the catch is made. A flag comes down late as Rod Harris makes the grab. Gain of maybe a couple. We'll see what the flag is about. It came down late. Maybe a face mask against the Edmonton Eskimos. Roughness is the call from referee Bud Steen.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Edmonton 46, first down.
Malvin Hunter, who had 14 sacks a year ago, is called for unnecessary roughness, and now the Riders move up to their own 54-yard line thanks to that 15-yard penalty.
Well, it's great to see Rod Harris back playing well again. He had a great game last week with 7 grabs for over 120 yards and a touchdown. Rod was a guy that caught 1,200 yards worth of balls for me the first 2 years he was in this league. And if I had to pick one guy to go to battle with to play receiver for me, it'd be Rod Harris.
On first down, this is Robert Mims, and Mims breaks into the territory down to the 47-yard line. Interesting to note that Rod Harris has not caught a touchdown pass since 1994, when it was thrown to him by David Archer. You're the last guy to throw him a touchdown pass in this league.
Well, Rod was a great receiver for me. He was a guy that I knew exactly. You talk about Flutie and McManus. I had that with Rod Harris the 2 years I was in Sacramento.
And earlier we saw him on the kickoff return with the nice ball fake there to Curtis Mayfield. Second and short, back to the ground. Mims has the first down, and then some inside the 40, down to the 38-yard line. Robert Mims had the best day any single player had against the Edmonton defense last year. 24 carries, 180 yards against the Eskimos in Saskatchewan's win last year here at Taylor Field.
And he is so good at making the first guy miss. I mean, watch how he just slides back to the inside right there. That makes the first Willie Pless miss, and he's a pretty darn good tackler. He's so good at making that first guy miss.
Gain of 9 there for Saskatchewan, first down. Back they go to Mims. This time nothing doing. Benny Goods and Glenn Rogers have had enough of number 27 getting the ball.
He makes the first guy miss, but if it's two guys, it makes it a little tougher.
Well, this is Glenn Rogers coming on a blitz from the weak side halfback position, and this is something Glenn does on his own. If the receivers are all to the wide side of the field and they're in a zone package, Glenn can blitz on his own, and he does it here, and he runs right into the play.
Loss was 5, 2nd and 15. Mason, lots of time, delivers it, and incomplete, looking for Don Narcisse. And the coverage provided on the play by Reggie Pleasant. It'll be 3rd down for Saskatchewan. And Jim Daly will send his punting unit on the field.
Well,
not the field goal team.
Sorry, guys. It's a design play to get Don Narcisse on the one-on-one on the backside, and he's going to go up the field and then try and curl back, and just can't hang on to that football.
Well, he has him. Mason just throws the ball a little high. Of course, he has a guy in his face. Dixon flies in and sticks his head in there, but that's a ball that I know he'd like to complete down the sidelines. He had Narcisse open. Narcisse ran a good route against Reggie Pleasant.
Rather than trying a 50-yard field goal, Jim Daly sends Paul McCallum out to punt. Here's the gizmo. From the 10. Flags are down. That'll be no yards. And Williams took it on the fly, so a 6-yard return after a 33-yard punt. You can tag on no yards to the end of that. And the Edmonton Eskimos will improve their field position dramatically, as Bud Steen indicates the call. And good work by the gizmo to catch the football. And
no yards. Saskatchewan 94.
It sounds like such an obvious thing, but you know what's one thing he's always talked about? When you catch the ball, it makes returning it a lot easier.
Well, and I think that's probably a good penalty for Saskatchewan, because it's better to give Giz 15 yards on a penalty than let him take it about 100 yards on you, because he's done it 24 times during the regular season in his career and had 19 called back in his career. Probably better just to give him a 15-yard penalty and get off the field.
And you know, I've had coaches that will tell you, take the 15 yards. When it's bouncing around, just like Dave said, man, they pick it up and take off. We'd rather give him 15.
First down, McManus, quick drop for Eddie Brown. Brown waiting for some blocks. There's Patrick Burke once again to make the shoelace tackle, and Eddie Brown slides out across the 35 for a gain of about 8. Well, it's interesting to note, you guys, that when you talk about Henry Williams having 19 returns called back, that comes from Gizmo's official statistician, Henry the Gizmo Williams. He's the guy that keeps track of that. He wants to get into the offensive package more. He likes to run that play that Eddie Brown just ran.
And that's the way they'll use him. The little hitch passes. Sometimes they'll hand the ball off to him coming around the backfield in a reverse type of play, but that's the type of play he'll get in the offense.
On 2nd and inches, the toss goes to Eric Blunt. Lamar McGregor makes the tackle up at the 40, but not before Eric Blunt has an Edmonton Eskimo first down on the final play of the opening quarter. Both teams score off turnovers, and it is 10-7. The Edmonton Eskimos leading after 15 minutes. Our CFL Live at the Quarter gang is here at Taylor Field. Let's go to them now.
Friday night football tonight.
Friday Night Football Live at the Quarter is brought to you by Midas for new, longer-lasting carbon metallic brake pads.
And welcome back to field level. For us, a nice vantage point to watch a lot of Edmonton's offense in that first quarter. Obi, the interception obviously aside, good-looking offense so far. What do you see differently from last week in Calgary?
I think the big thing is that last week Edmonton got so far behind in that game they had to throw the ball to be effective. And Coach Lancaster told me at the beginning of the season that they really wanted to establish the run, because with Tony Burst and that big offensive line and Eric Blunt, he feels like they should be able to run the ball well to complement Danny McManus at quarterback.
Well, they have been running the ball very well against Saskatchewan's front seven. And we did talk about Saskatchewan's front seven a lot at the beginning of the game. But I think what they're doing right now is pinning their ears back so much to try to get Danny Mac and put pressure on him to throw interceptions like maybe he just did a little while ago.
Not bad strategy.
And on the other side of the ball, guys, you were talking also before the game less about Reggie Slack and what a great preseason he had. I expect to see him coming in this game very soon, because I know that Coach Daly had a plan that if Kevin Mason was going to have some problems, he's going to put Slack in. So look for Slack to come in, if not this quarter, certainly in the second half.
How about Saskatchewan defensively? The big play led to their only point so far, but concern right now, the way that Edmonton offense is working through?
I think they have to definitely be concerned, because they're moving the ball at will. They're going to have to tighten up that defense.
The only thing that's been stopping Edmonton is Edmonton.
They did that once, so it's only a 3-point game. It could have been worse. Now let's go back upstairs.
All right, Rod, thank you. Here are the first quarter numbers brought to you by Midas, and 4 passing yards for the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the opening quarter, just 32 net yards. Both teams turned the ball over once. Both times it led to touchdowns, once indirectly for the Edmonton Eskimos after a Saskatchewan fumble, once directly for the Saskatchewan Roughriders when they picked off Danny McManus and took it all the way home. So McManus and the Eskimos start the second quarter, 1st and 10 from their 40. McManus from the shotgun. Pass for Eddie Brown, knocked down the line of scrimmage. That might have been Will Johnson that got a piece of that again. He and Troy Alexander both leapt at that football, but I think Big Will got a piece of it.
Well, this is a situation where Eddie Brown sees a void. He's playing the weak slot position, and he sees a void in the coverage. He just runs a slant for McManus, and Danny's a little late getting the ball off. And Kropke gets the big paw up there and wraps it down.
John Kropke, the former Ottawa Rough Rider, Winnipeg Blue Bomber, did get a piece of that. 2nd and 10. McManus all day. Deep over the middle. Flutie makes the catch, and now he's off and running. One man's got a chance to catch him, and he's run down by Jason Mallett, but not before Darren Flutie runs all the way down to the 18-yard line, a 51-yard pass and run.
Well, Bryce Bevel took a gamble and lost on this one. First of all, the play is created by pretty good time for Danny McManus and allows Darren Flutie to find the open spot in the zone. McManus is patient, finds him. Now, Bevel takes a chance and goes for the ball, and when he does that, he can't make the tackle.
I'll tell you, the best friend of a quarterback is great protection, and any quarterback in this league is going to slice you up if you have that much time to throw the football.
Now McManus is back under center on 1st down from the 18. And the give goes off to big Tony Verse, and Verse is down to the 10-yard line, rumbling there for close to 9 yards. And good yardage on 1st down is Ron Lancaster's motto. And thou shalt get good yardage on 1st down is one of Lancaster's commandments.
You're exactly right, Gordon, and it's all Danny McManus. He's making the calls. He's really had a great mix of offense here, running both inside, outside, distributing the ball to all his receivers, quick screens down the field. I think he's calling a great game right now.
You've always felt it's important for a quarterback to call his own plays, right?
I think you're in the flow of the game. It's difficult for the people on the sidelines or up in the booth to really know and get a feel for the players around him.
2nd and a couple. Back to the ground. This is Verse leaping up, and he might have been stopped short. He was right at the 10-yard line. Dan Rashovich got in there. So did K.D. Williams and Lamar McGriggs. And we'll have a measurement to see just how close they got. Jim Daly looking on nervously from the Saskatchewan sideline. And no wonder.
Well, Jim's in a situation where he really hasn't got anything to grade Mason's performance yet on. He hasn't been on the field enough. He missed one throw to Narcisse down here on the sideline, but he really has nothing to judge on maybe bringing slack into the ballgame. I think we will see slack, as Marty York alluded to, as they're short there by about a yard.
Now, what does Lancaster do? It's a long yard.
John Kropke from the nose tackle position on this play gets pretty good penetration. That's what stops that one short.
Bobby Jurison got in there low as well. The Edmonton Eskimos are going gambling on 3rd and a yard from the 10. Referee Bud Steve wants to make sure they get the marking right.
This comes down to who gets the lowest.
And the Saskatchewan D last week, great against BC on short yardage. Here we go, 3rd and a yard. McManus gives it up to Verse, and this time Verse gets up and over and has the Edmonton Eskimo 1st down, but he lost it. He lost the ball, and Saskatchewan has it back. Wow. A fumble, and Henry Newby picks it up.
Tony carries the football real low, and whenever somebody comes in and chops the pins out from underneath him, I mean his legs, the ball is exposed and it gets ripped out here. Looks like Lamar McGriggs sticks the hand in and strips it out.
Well, good penetration initially by Bobby Jurison. Now Verse bounces to the outside, and let's see the hit and who actually gets his hand in there.
It was McGriggs, number 38, that got in there.
He reaches over the top and strips him.
What a big defensive play by the Saskatchewan Roughriders to thwart the Eskimos, who were about to get a 1st down. Now Mason on play action from the end zone has a man wide open. Dan Farthing. And Farthing out of bounds up to the 21-yard line, had the Saskatchewan first down, a gain of 11. Henry Newby came over as a free agent from BC. Does a big job here.
Tighten up, baby. Sit over there. Bend but don't break. Bend but don't break.
Bend but don't break. The Saskatchewan Roughrider watchword right now. They bended a great deal. They bent a great deal. I think bended is a word. You can be on bended knee, but
you don't have to convince me.
First down, Saskatchewan. Back to the ground. This is Mims. Yeah, nothing doing there. He's tripped up by Derek McCready. No gain for the CFL's leading rusher of 1 year ago, a three-time All-Canadian in 90, 91, and 96. There was that 5-year hiatus for Robert Mims from the top of the CFL rushing stats.
Here's Derek McCready right here. And this defensive line for the Edmonton Eskimos does such a good job of canceling the gaps. I mean, once they recognize where that ball's going to hit, they cancel it.
Here comes the blitz from Willie Pless and others. Mason's in trouble, and he is getting away. Pless hot after him. Mason slings it for Farthing, makes the catch. Gets hammered by Trent Brown, but hangs on. A first down for Saskatchewan, a gain of 16 yards. Kevin Mason and Dan Farthing, who made it happen in the fourth quarter at BC Place, are doing it again.
This is a situation where Mason originally in the play does not trust his blocking. He doesn't think Pless is going to be picked up, so he starts to jump around in the pocket, and then he makes a great athletic play. This is why he's playing quarterback for him. I tell you, it doesn't get any tougher than that. Rolling dead to your left and make a throw back to the middle.
First down. The toss goes to Mims. Mims picking his way through the middle.
Okay, 27.
And he's got a gain of 5 yards. And I'll tell you what, Kevin Mason is a guy that Saskatchewan players say has that air about him. He has that feeling that he gives off to other players that he knows he can get the job done.
And we talked to Wally Buono last night in BC, and he was talking about Kevin Mason. Says not only scrambles well, but he's so big and strong. When you hit him, you bounce off, and there was two pretty big defensive line hit him on that last play.
Now on 2nd and 5. Mason quickly has it there for Rod Harris. Harris has a first down out to the 50-yard line. And this drive, which began all the way back at the 8-yard line, is now approaching midfield. And Kevin Mason said very much that he wanted to start this game and felt he deserved the opportunity, but did say that he felt Jim Daly waited a while. I guess I'd like to know early. It's a little different prep if you know you're starting, but he understands the situation here in Saskatchewan. It's a job that for now might be held by two guys. From the 50, Mason, quick drop, pump fake. Can't find anyone open. Now sidearms it out of bounds up at the Saskatchewan bench. Curtis Mayfield and Rod Harris were streaking downfield, but the pass ball's incomplete.
A little indecisiveness here in Kevin Mason. He originally wants something to the outside. He pumps, and now he's trying to find Rod Harris over the middle, and Rod was covered real well by Glenn Rogers. Finally decided to not take the loss, threw the ball away. That's a development that has to happen for a good quarterback. Get rid of the football, minimize the mistake.
2nd and 10. Mason dropped. The ball's loose. The Eskimos had it for a moment, but John Terry, number 51, falls on to save the day for Saskatchewan. And the Riders will be forced to punt, but they're more than happy to do so after seeing the Eskimos all around that loose football.
John Terry's the left tackle at the top of your screen. He was graded out in the last game against the BC Lions, number 51, as the Saskatchewan Roughrider best offensive lineman, and just happened to be in the right place at the right time on that play.
Mike Sellers got in there with the pressure on Saskatchewan quarterback Kevin Mason. Now Gizmo Williams and Don Blair back to take the punt from Paul McCallum. The snap's over his head. Oh, look out. McCallum well advised to give up a safety here, which he will do. The Edmonton Eskimos all over him. Tommy Henry leading the pack. A bad snap costs the Saskatchewan Roughriders a couple. The Edmonton Eskimos with a 5-point lead. Get the ball back when we return. For Paul McCallum to the lifeboats on that one.
Yeah, that one went up and over his head. Paul McCallum, I mean, last week had to do the same thing. Kind of got a bobble snap and ran around, tried to throw it. That didn't work. He also didn't run it well that time. He had to give up the safety. That was a smart play to make, though.
Now the Riders forced to kick it off after giving up 2, and now the ball goes down to the gizmo from the 10. Henry Williams brings it up across the 25, gets up to the 27-yard line. Dan Rasevich brought him down. We'll take you back to exactly what happened here. Ben Fairbrother is the long snapper for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and look out.
Up and over. That one was still rising when it got to Paul McCallum. Now, this is what he did last week. He tried to pick it up, turn around, and throw it. This week he says, well, I'm not a great passer. I think I'll just lie down right here.
Troy Alexander was actually the man who snapped that football for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So
I've been in the shotgun and had the ball snapped over my head a few times, and believe me, you have no idea. You just know they're coming from behind you, and you're in no man's land.
The worst possible situation. You're trying to pick up a rolling football. You got your back turned to guys who are teeing off on you. Tony Burst was shaken up on that return, but remains in the Edmonton huddle. The Eskimos lead at 12-7, 8:40 to play here in an entertaining first half at Taylor Field. Again. That's 3 times Danny McManus has had a pass batted down in the first half. Will Johnson up there again. Looked like he got a piece of it. John Kropke also had his mitt in the air.
And this is a situation where if the ball's not knocked down, Flutie catches the pass for about a 15-yard gain.
And it is Will Johnson right there to the left of your screen. Gets that right hand up, knocks it down.
That's about the 3rd completion. I believe the defensive line is negated by knocking the ball down.
Now from the shotgun on 2nd down. Here comes the blitz. McManus gets it away to Blunt. One-on-one beats the first man, Patrick Burke, and Lamar McGrig's able to drive him out of bounds. And Eric Blunt gets up to the 35-yard line, a gain of 8, but it'll be 2 yards short of an Edmonton first down. And Ron Lancaster said Sean Fleming and the punting unit on the field.
K.D. Williams was coming up on the blitz. McManus picks it up and dumps it off, and Lamar McGriggs didn't get out there in time to cover him. And that's what created the play.
Now the problem for the Edmonton Eskimos is their punting unit. Sean Fleming last week had a punt block. Ron Lancaster says he wants Fleming to get the ball off in 2.3 seconds or less, but says that last week the block punt wasn't his fault. They forgot to block somebody.
That makes it tough.
Fleming gets a good kick away. This is Harris from the 32-yard line, and quickly he is wrapped up. Good special teams play by Mark Farraway, a 45-yard kick and a return of 8. Back here at Taylor Field to remind you that our next game comes your way from Ironwood Stadium in Hamilton. Toronto and the Tabbies Sunday at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific here on TSN. Saskatchewan starts 1st and 10 from its own 41-yard line. Draw play, Robert Mims. And Mims out across the 45 gets up to the 46-yard line. Well, Robert Mims really is some kind of story. A 3-time CFL All-Star, a 3-time rushing champion. The only problem is 5 years separating the final appearance from the second.
That tells you a little bit about the guy. He's got quite a bit of resolve. When you have several down years, a lot of times that ends a guy's career, but he stayed in there, hung in there, and came back with a great performance last season.
Last year, he won the rushing title by 310 yards over Eric Blunt. It was a walkover. And here comes Blunt. Mims runner again. And Mims breaking into Edmonton territory. Stumbles down to the 50-yard line. A Saskatchewan first down after a pickup of 14 yards.
This is just going to be a quick hitter by Robert Mims. He's going to hit it right up in here, and pretty nice job with the right side of that offensive line. G. McCuskey and James Monroe, and you see Monroe come up and pick up Malvin Hunter. That gives Robert Mims a little bit of a seam. You know, last year when he won the rushing title, his longest run was 38 yards, but he picks up 5.1 a carry, and you know what? Any coach in the world will take that.
Here comes Mims again on the top of the short side, wraps up quickly, still going though, and he fights his way down to the 45. The Edmonton Eskimos, I think everyone but Ron Lancaster had a shot at him there, and Mims still got 5 yards.
Well, this was the guy that Ronnie Lancaster feared the most, was to get Robert Mims involved in the offense. He felt that if they stopped the run and just made Kevin Mason beat him throwing the football, they would have the game go their way. But tonight, Mims has gotten off. They just got to mix some. Now they need to mix some play-action passing on first down for Mason. Here's a conversion situation. Big play now to keep his drive alive.
2nd and 5 from the 45. Mason draw play, and fullback Sean Daniels gets stuffed. The Edmonton Eskimos all over that. It's a loss of a yard. It goes nowhere.
The quarterback doesn't like the call.
No, I don't think he does. Dave, what's the problem?
Well, this is a situation where it's a conversion situation, a 5-yard completion. Put the ball in Kevin Mason's hands and let him make something happen. He runs extremely well. Here's a situation where you take it completely out of the athlete's hands at quarterback and put it into a running back's hands. It really doesn't carry the ball all that much.
Bruce Dixon made the tackle. By the way, the long snapper, Randy Strachensky, 45, not Troy Alexander, 46. So Strachensky has been practicing on the sidelines. He'll try to work it out here with Paul McCallum. Good snap. Good kick. They angle it right out of bounds. There will be no return as it flies out at the 15-yard line. That's where the Edmonton Eskimos will start after a 30-yard Paul McCallum punt.
Friday night football tonight.
They've made it official. They put the panel under the big top. It's officially a circus. The guys are waiting for their first half analysis. That's coming up. Rod with Marty, Les, and Bob. And oh my goodness, they're eating down there. They're eating. I can't believe it. I hope they paid for those hot dogs.
This is Taylor Field. They paid.
Not enough mustard to cover those hot dogs down there. Danny McManus sends it out there for the gizmo. Henry Williams on the receiver's screen out across the 20 to the 21-yard line. We talked about that play earlier. That's what he wants to run as his bread and butter in the offense. And that time he gets a gain of about 6 yards.
I think Henry Williams would be the first to tell you that he's not a great pass receiver, you know, a pure pass receiver running routes. But if you can get him the ball in the quick hitches, maybe in the backfield, then he can do something with it.
Career all-purpose yards. Remember, George Reed didn't return kicks. George got his the hard way, but Henry Williams, 19,000 all-purpose yards. Second down, McManus to the sideline, stumbling, and making the catch is Robert Gordon. Flags are down, but Gordon lost his footing, was able to make the catch. And you know what? Doesn't matter. Coming back. And here's the call from Bud Steen.
Holding. Edmonton 63.
Vic Stevenson, the left guard, former Saskatchewan Roughrider, called for holding.
Here's Vic right here. Follow him on this play and see if he gets the hands on K.D. Williams coming. Oh, a holding. That's more like a three-point takedown.
And that'll move the Edmonton Eskimos all the way back to their 10-yard line. Instead of a first down, it's now 2nd and 15. From the shotgun, McManus has time. Oh, it's intercepted by K.D. Williams. That would have been 6. Wow.
Well, now, I want to ask the quarterback on this one because it looked to me like Danny McManus threw that one to the linebacker.
Well, you're exactly right on this, Glenn. He watched Danny McManus's head. It goes right now, and he stays on it, trying to get the ball to Robert Gordon. He never sees K.D. Williams, who's just flowing at the quarterback's eyes, and he should have picked it off.
But behind K.D. Williams, Gordon was double covered. Now Fleming to punt into the wind. Under 4 minutes to play in the first half. High tumbling kick. Ron Harris takes it, catches it on the fly at the 45. A flag is down. That'll be a 15-yard, no yards penalty, a 35-yard punt. Harris doesn't get much of a return, but does a great job catching it. And Saskatchewan, with 3:43 to play in the first half, has a great chance do some damage here. We talked about how fast Lancaster wants it off. 2.3 seconds, and let's see how he did.
Clock starts from the snap now. It'll stop when the ball is kicked. And there's the kick. Well under the time.
And not a bad kick to boot. The problem was the coverage team got down too fast.
Now, Ron Lancaster says if you can get it under 2-3, all you really have to do is restart your man on the line of scrimmage. In other words, you don't have to block him strong. Just restart him.
First touchdown. Mason. Lots of time. To the end zone. Harris. Right down to the one. What a snag by Ron Harris. Working down there on Derek Beatty. Ron Harris almost had himself a touchdown.
Well, it was a battle all the way down the field, Gordon, between Ron Harris and Derek Beatty, and Harris gave him a little push-up late in the play. Beatty battled back, but the big athletic maneuver right here to fight back to the football and get both hands on it.
Ron was so patient on the route. You saw he needed to get the defensive back turned back to the inside. He did that. Mason got great pass protection, stood in there with people coming. Benny Goods wrapped around the waist, but Mason made it. That's his strongest throw he's made tonight, and that's a big confidence builder for the young QB.
3 minutes to play now. In the first half, we've reached the 3-minute warning. When we come back, the Saskatchewan Roughriders will have it first and goal on a Friday night at Taylor Field. Back at Taylor Field, Saskatchewan down by 5. First and goal from the 1. Min is on the sideline. Flags are down. Fighting his way to the end zone is Sean Daniels. Touchdown. Now we'll find out what the flags are all about.
Gordon, I believe Melvin Hunter jumped offside.
And it's a Saskatchewan touchdown. The Riders are back in front. And this huge crowd at Taylor Field sees its Saskatchewan Roughriders retake the lead, but some nervous moments when that flag flew.
Melvin Hunter is right here in the bottom right corner of your screen. He's going to come upfield a little anxious, and down the goal line, you have to commit right away. You have to just go, and he just didn't anticipate the snap count in time and went a little early.
Sean Daniels in his 3rd time around with Saskatchewan, with them in '89 and again in '94. And now he has the touchdown to put Saskatchewan back on top, 14-12.
Well, Sean played with me in Ottawa last year, and the guy's a load. He's a great big running back, very similar to Edmonton's Tony Burse. And he just used the weight and the power of the leg drive to drive this in, because he actually gets hit before he gets in. You'll see here, Edmonton stones the play pretty well, but you see he just drives through the tackles and gets it in the end zone. Strong guy. That's why he's down there on the goal line to punch those in.
2 plays, 28 yards. It takes under a minute for the Saskatchewan Roughriders to take advantage of it. Rod Harris with a big catch. Dave, you talked about how much you enjoyed playing here at Taylor Field in Regina, and you were saying that when you were here a few years ago, you found out just how knowledgeable the fans here were.
Well, we had a situation where we were playing Saskatchewan in a very tight ball game. Ken Austin was going back and forth with me, throwing the football down the field. They were killing the football at the end of the game, and we had missed 3 field goals throughout the game, and we were going to lose the game 26-23. And a fan with about 20 seconds left, as Kent's kneeling down on the ball, yells out of the crowd, "Hey, Archer!" And I turned and looked, because the guy had been yelling at me the whole game to acknowledge him. He said, "Your kicker stinks!"
See, they know.
Oh, they know their football here.
Yes, as Mr. Suter found out. And they also know the phone numbers of players that might make the odd mistake or two.
Yeah, it's good when it's good, but when it's bad, whoa.
Paul McCallum to kick it off. 2:46 to play here in the first half. The gizmo from the 15. Up the middle he goes. Dan Rashovich makes the tackle as Henry Williams gets up to the 35.
Friday night football tonight.
Friday Night Football on TSN is brought to you in part by Midas for new, longer-lasting carbon metallic brake pads.
Gord Miller, Dave Archer, Glenn Suter, Rod Smith, Bob Obilovich, Marty York, Les Brown, a cast of thousands here at Taylor Field tonight for a great football game on a beautiful night. The Eskimos start 1st and 10 from their 35. And Blunt in the backfield. This is Blunt sliding out to the 40-yard line. K.D. Williams up to make a quick tackle, and it's a pickup of maybe 5 yards. And coming up at halftime, the panel will be back here live to talk about what they've seen in the first 30 minutes, and we'll also have a preview of Sunday's game between Hamilton and Toronto coming up on TSN Sunday afternoon. Here comes the rush. McManus over the middle. Has Flutie. And Darren Flutie has a first down and a whole bunch more down to the Saskatchewan 45-yard line. Every time Danny McManus finds himself in a hole, he finds Darren Flutie. It's a pickup of 25 yards.
Gord, throughout this game, the Saskatchewan Roughriders have been playing zone defensively on first down, and on second down, they're blitzing. Now, I'm pretty sure Danny McManus by this time, David, is picking it up, and he's going to his favorite target.
Sure has, and here Flutie just wins inside. Ulmer lets him have the inside, and that's really pitch and catch between two guys that have done it for 3 seasons, including the one in BC.
Flutie nearing 100 yards receiving. Now McManus up over the top. Eddie Brown has the catch. Brown down to the 17-yard line. Lost the football. And I believe Don Blair got it back for Edmonton. Eddie Brown made the catch, lost it for a moment. Blair recovers, and the Edmonton Eskimos keep the drive alive.
When you're in the secondary playing the corner, especially on a guy like Eddie Brown, you got to take the inside away. Now, Patrick Burke's going to back up, but he's going to give up the inside position. That's too much space with the speed of Eddie Brown.
And he lost the pill there for a moment.
I think Eddie was down before the ball came out, but Don Blair made sure.
Always arguing for those Iowa State guys. Pick up at 31. From the 14. McManus. Oh, what count? Low bridge. Holy smokes. Troy Alexander very nearly took off the head of Eric Blunt. Good thing he slipped.
That's the lookout block or the no block, and Eric Blunt saw it coming and bailed on it in a hurry, and it's a good thing he did, or they'd be coming out to get him. Troy Alexander timed that one perfectly.
Loss of 4. I'll tell you what, he pulled the ripcord from the get-go. He wanted nothing to do with that. 2nd and 14. McManus under pressure trap. Alexander again with some help from Bobby Jurison, and the Saskatchewan defense once again bends, but does not break as Jim Daly wants timeout with 1:11 to play.
Troy Alexander is working on Thomas Raham on the bottom angle of your screen, coming right up. Right here. It's coming off the edge, and it's a pretty good one-on-one move. Now, Troy Alexander's got fresh legs. This is just his 2nd game on defense in the ball game. He's coming off the edge. Eric Blunt tries to help out Raham, and no shot.
That's what they call the shoe duster block. He dusted his shoes on the way in. Boy, you can't do that, especially on a big guy like that. He's just going to run through a block like that. I think that sack, even though it was a quick sack by Alexander, was a coverage sack. Great coverage in the Saskatchewan secondary.
Sean Fleming for the 5th lead change of the first half from 28. Puts it up and good, and the Edmonton Eskimos now have a 15-14 lead with 1:07 to go in a first half that has seen everything you want, but mostly big defense.
The Saskatchewan defense has stepped up many times down in what we call the green zone or the red zone, depends on what team you're on. That's the scoring area. That's the area you want to be extremely efficient on offense. And as it's turned out, Saskatchewan's defense has been the efficient group on the field in that situation.
And they're creating a nice rotation situation here on the defensive line with Will Johnson, Kropke, Robinson, and Jurison. Now you throw in a Troy Alexander every other series. Keep those guys fresh. Makes it awful tough.
Well, Bobby Jurison either has rabies or he's excited.
No, he's excited. Always is.
First down for the 35. Draw play. Robert Mims. Mims dances inside, gets maybe a couple as he's tripped up on the play by Derek McCready. And now 1:02 to play, and a prudent timeout taken by Jim Daly to buy his offense some time. And what a difference that is in Saskatchewan. A year ago, the Riders would have been content to run the clock down with their offense on the field. Just don't do any damage to ourselves.
Well, here's a situation where Kevin Mason can apply what he learned last week in a last-second situation. Now he can try to move his team with some confidence.
Mason, pump fake, gets it underneath for Don Narcisse. Narcisse brought down by the head. No flag on the play, a gain of a couple. Don Narcisse's streak goes on as he gets his first catch of the game. And Don Narcisse adds to his CFL record. 164 consecutive games catching a pass. A streak that spans 11 seasons. And now the Edmonton Eskimos have called timeout with 52 seconds to play in the first half, and Saskatchewan's punting unit taking the field.
You know what's amazing about that record by Don Narcisse? Only 4 times did he catch the ball in the 4th quarter in that whole streak. Just 4 of those catches were in the fourth quarter.
And that time a pickup of 2 as Saskatchewan comes up well short of a first down, and Paul McCallum will put it away. Henry Williams and Don Blair back to receive. And I think they're kicking it to the Gizmo. Gets it again from the 23-yard line. Here he comes. Henry Williams falls over one man. And we'll give the credit for the tackle to Chris Zarka, as Williams, trying to leap tall buildings in a single bound, got tripped up.
If anyone can do it, he can.
I've seen a lot of great punt returners. I had a chance in the National Football League to play with Billy White Shoes Johnson, one of the greats who came up here and played in the CFL, was a good player up here. But this guy, when he touches the football, there's something that happens within your body that makes you just grip something and hold on, because something is about to happen with the Giz and the ball in his hands.
3 times in his career, he's taken 2 punts back for touchdowns in a game, all 3 times against the Calgary Stampeders. 43 seconds to go in the opening half. Here comes the blitz. McManus over the top for Eddie Brown. Oh, Patrick Burke almost picked that up. That time Burke was with Eddie Brown step for step, and what a matchup that's been in the first half, Burke and Brown.
And Brown's won a couple of them, but this one we'll give to Burke. And this time he plays the outside a little bit, but he has safety help in the middle from the nickel, so he can hang out there. Ooh, Danny McManus just threw it to the outside.
That's why Patrick Burke plays defense.
That's one of the toughest patterns to complete, or toughest routes to complete, because the quarterback usually lets the ball go before the receiver comes out of his break. Very tough situation to get the right angle on the throw.
Second down. Drop play. Blunt, great block. Blunt first down into Saskatchewan territory. Down to the 52-yard line. Tony Burst sprung him with a great block. 31 seconds to go. The Edmonton Eskimos go to their hurry-up offense after a gain of 19.
Good call by Ron Lancaster. Surprised the Saskatchewan defense a little bit now with 1 first down. They're in field goal range.
McManus from the shotgun. McManus under pressure. Slings it out there. It's a 2-hopper to Darren Flutie, and it'll be second down.
Oh, Darren stumbled that time coming across the field. The same ball he caught earlier in the ball game for a big play. This time he's isolated again against Ulmer, and Darren stumbles coming out of the route. McManus tried to buy a little time for him by getting out of the pocket, but just ran out of time and had to eventually throw the ball away.
So that wasn't a bad throw. That was just grounded it.
That's throwing the ball away.
Okay.
Taking care of your team. Being efficient on offense.
Can I just get this straight? When there's a fumble with the running back, it's the running back's fault. That was the receiver's fault. What exactly is it the quarterback's fault?
Rarely, Gord. Rarely.
Second down, McManus. Lots of time. Looking in the middle for Robert Gordon. That pass is knocked away by Vincent Donaldson. And the Edmonton Eskimos on third down, I doubt would try a 59-yard field goal into the wind. This is where the CFL's longest field goal was kicked. Dave Ridgway, 60 yards.
Well, Danny McManus has to deal with the little pressure up front. You see Henry Newby and Bobby Jerson getting up there. Now, I want to ask David Archer something now. When those guys are flying around you, do you get a little bit antsy? I mean, you got to think, okay, you got to let this one go right now. Is there a time? Is there a clock that goes off in the head?
Definitely a time clock goes off in your head, as there is for you guys in the secondary. But that situation, I thought he had good protection there. He had a lot of time to get the ball through an accurate pass to Gordon.
Well, high snap, almost blocked. Might have been tipped.
I got it.
As it is, it goes out of bounds at the 32-yard line. Great work by the Saskatchewan Roughriders special teams. Dave Denal gets up there. He had some help, too, from Rick Walters. Sean Fleming lucky to get that one away.
Well, anytime that the snap is a little bit off, either left, right, or up over your head, it takes the timing of the play right out. And Sean Fleming just had to try and be an athlete and get this one out. And he is a good athlete, the Fleminator. Makes a pretty big play for his team. Saves some field position.
The what?
They call him the Fleminator.
Kickers have nicknames now?
Well, you know, he's the only one of the few kickers that'll go down and cover a kick.
What next? First down, Saskatchewan from the 32. Mason. Time winding down. Strong throw to Mayfield. No catch, they say. Wow, the Riders are beside themselves. That happened right in front of Cal Murphy, the Saskatchewan assistant coach. Now, I'll tell you what, Cal may be an assistant coach, but he's still got that head coach holler. And he felt this was a catch.
Well, there's lots of refs at home right now that can be the judge, and that looked like a one-hopper to me.
That's why Cal is an assistant coach. Look at him.
Look at Cal. And we thought Tyson bit ears off. He's chewing some ears right there.
Now, I thought Cal had mellowed out a bit.
Well, you'd be wrong. Second down now, 7 seconds to go in the first half. Mason. Swinging it deep. Wide open, Curtis Mayfield. Can't make the catch. A flag is down on the final play of the first half. There's a flag in front of the Saskatchewan Roughrider bench. Mayfield got tied up with the Edmonton defender, Reggie Pleasant. What's the call? Illegal contact. One more play to close out the half.
Mayfield runs a wheel on the play, and I think right when he turned to go upfield.
Illegal contact on an eligible receiver, Edmonton, number 6.
Reggie Pleasant has the call go against him, and we'll have a look at what happened.
Now you can see Mayfield run the little out and up. He gets the contact downfield. Now the defensive back can defend his ground, but as soon as the receiver is outside of him, you can't make contact, and Pleasant definitely did there.
Ladies and gentlemen, just if you're keeping score at home, when the running back and quarterback time, it's the running back's fault. When the pass falls incomplete, it's the receiver's fault. And when a defensive back is called for interference, he's allowed to defend his ground. The opinions expressed are not necessarily those of TSN, its sponsors, or its management. Final play of the half. Kevin Mason with one chance here to get one away. Benny Good's hot after him. Look out. Mason slings it up there, a dying quail. And two Eskimos came together and fought each other for the pick. Derek Beatty and Camus Reed bumped into each other. And as a result, the ball hits the turf. An entertaining first half. The Edmonton Eskimos go to the locker room with a 15-14 lead. Stay tuned for Friday night live at the half.
Friday night football tonight.
And welcome back to Friday Night Football at the half at the sidelines here at Taylor Field. Hey, what'd you expect? It's a CFL West game and a one-point lead. Great football game so far, and joined, of course, by the panel, Bob Obilovich, Les Brown, and Marty York. And Obi, one thing you were talking about, the importance of special teams here. Good move by Saskatchewan, as it turns out, not to try that 52-yard field goal that led to their only offensive touchdown.
Absolutely. And, you know, in the course of a game, the head coach only has to make maybe 2 or 3 key decisions at different times. And in that situation, Coach Daly elected to punt the ball instead of trying a long field goal, and it got him that territorial field position. And maybe Cal Murphy's experience on the sidelines as their special teams coach helped Coach Daly in that situation.
As far as the quarterback situation, Les, Kevin Mason, we've seen him pressured. We've seen times when he hasn't been pressured. You're a little surprised Edmonton has not put more pressure on Mason.
Well, yeah, I'm really surprised they haven't put more pressure on Kevin Mason, because this is his 6th game in the CFL. You put pressure on a young kid because he might not be able to get those reads all that quick. When they have put pressure on him, they've had success with him, but they just haven't been able to complete the plays by putting Kevin Mason on his back.
The only thing, Les, is we don't know how good that secondary of Edmonton is in one-on-one coverage, and that may be why they're not blitzing.
Yeah, but if you put pressure on him, you know, it makes the secondary's job a little easier. Don't have to cover as long.
Guys, it may be a moot point in the second half anyway, because I still think you might see slack in this game. What if Mason does stay in, though? What I think he should be doing more of, guys, is throwing the ball to Donald Narcisse, an 11-year veteran who can help a kid like that. He seems to be favoring Harris, and he seems to be favoring Farthing. But Narcisse is a guy who you know has the sure hands, and he only threw the ball to him once in that half, and only once all of last game.
But Marty, you cannot take Kevin Mason out of this game, because he has to outplay himself, which means he's playing pretty good.
I agree with you. I think it would be a mistake.
So how can you just,
I think it would be wrong to shatter the kid's confidence. All I know is what Slack told me at the beginning of the game, and Slack said that he was promised that he's getting into this game.
You know, one thing I'm going to say about those receivers, I can see why he's throwing to Harris and to Mayfield, because they're the guys that made the big catches for him against BC. Those weren't average catches.
Right.
And if I'm a quarterback, I'm going to throw to the guys that I think are going to make the plays.
But if I'm a young quarterback, I want to get the help from a good veteran who I know is going to be solid and dependable, and Narcisse is that guy.
Well, it's interesting also, Saskatchewan's defense, they've had some big plays, but also Danny McManus has been able to move it along. This game is to decide sole possession of first in the West. When we come back, we'll talk about the East Division, the Argos and Ticats, and Friday Night Football. Dan Kepley began his CFL career in Edmonton in September of 1975, and instantly a star was born. He spent 10 seasons in the league, all with the Eskimos. Known for his relentless attacking style, Kep was named the CFL's most outstanding defensive player 3 times. From 1977 to 81, he was an All-Canadian in the midst of Edmonton's 5 straight Grey Cup titles. You can see more on Kepley and other CFL legends at the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in Hamilton. Welcome back to Friday Night Football. Sunday on TSN, the Argos take on the Ticats. Now, Toronto maybe builds itself very highly after last year's Grey Cup victory as perhaps the best team in history. Well, good, impressive victory over Winnipeg, but they still had some bugs to iron out. And the Argos could be a little tougher challenge against Hamilton.
It's going to be a blast for us to go back down there, and obviously the pleasant memories from last November, but for them, they had to sit there and watch us win a championship in their home stadium, which I'm sure didn't sit well with them, and their fans and the Ticats themselves will be ready for us to come down to Hamilton.
It's not Hamilton if they don't keep on shouting at me, so I expect nothing less from the Hamilton fans, and you know, I really hope they back their team and support it as well as they have in the past, and if they do that, I think I should hear a few boos this coming game.
Well, every time you go out there, it's intense. It's like everybody's going at each other, you know, right to the whistle sound. So you can't go out there slipping, like looking around, you know. But everybody go out there, we're aggressive. Everybody play fair, you know. It's a good thing. Good thing for the league, you know. You want a game that you go out there and everyone's going to play hard.
What can you say about the rival? I mean, I think we played those guys a lot where we, you know, seem to know each other pretty well and consider a lot of them friends. Not. You know, I mean, we hate each other when it comes on the field. You know, a lot of the guys, person, you laugh off the field, but when we're on the field, we hate each other.
Not a lot of love lost between the Argos and Ticats, to be sure, nor between these two teams, the Edmonton Eskimos and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. A 1-point game at the half here at Taylor Field. Marty, about the Argonauts, what do they have to improve upon after a 38-23 victory over Winnipeg last week?
Well, Rod, I talked to Doug Flutie during the week, and I know he was a little bit disappointed about the number of penalties that the Argo offense committed. He thought that for that reason they were a little out of sync. But, Bob, in the pregame show, you were saying that Hamilton always gets psyched up for Toronto. And I remember a team that you took in there in 1983, and I think the Argos won about 50-10. And I think you're going to see that kind of game again on Sunday.
Well, there's no question about it. Of all the teams we've seen thus far this season, Toronto really looks strong. The only area I don't think they're better in this year, as Coach Matthews has said, is I think they don't have the big play guy with Jimmy Cunningham in the returns.
Well, I know one thing that Hamilton does get psyched about, and that's their defense. The city of Hamilton needs to step it up and come to the game and just electrify them as they're doing right here in Saskatchewan. Defense, when they make big plays, they electrify the offense, and then things happen. So that's what needs to happen in Hamilton.
Ticats beaten last week 27-17, although they got a lot of their points through the air late in the game. What about that Ticat offense? Talking about doing it on the ground, it seemed they did it better in the air last week.
I think you might be seeing a little bit more passing in this game because I think they realized they were wrong to go into the season with a purely running attack.
Well, in this league, you have to throw the ball to open up the run. Maybe like in the NFL, you have to run the ball to open up the pass, but it's totally vice versa up here.
And that's definitely the truth in our league. It's always the teams that pass the ball the best that usually are the best offenses in the league. And the pass sets up the run, not vice versa.
Now the question is Calvillo a good enough passer for this league? I know he played well when he was quarterbacking in Vegas. You think he's good enough?
Oh, he's proven it over and over again that he's good enough to do it.
I didn't think he proved it last year, to be honest. He got hurt quite a bit.
Well, talk about his counterpart, Doug Flutie. And Doug Flutie passed for over 400 yards again in that season opener. And there was some questions, some doubts, I believe, Coach, about his targets. But certainly looks at Daryl Mitchell. He's really got to keep him.
Oh, yeah, I think their receiving core is better. The one thing that makes Toronto so strong on offense, besides Doug's ability to see everything, is they've got Michael Clements and Robert Drummond coming out of the backfield, and those two guys aren't just running backs. They're great receivers that can do a lot of things and make things happen coming out of the backfield, and that gives the defense a lot of problems.
We've got it for you here on TSN as well, the Argos and the Ticats on Sunday, and that one coming up at 4 Eastern Time. Next week, we have Calgary and Montreal, BC Lions and Edmonton Eskimos, Winnipeg and the Ticats, and then the Argos again right here at Taylor Field. Friday Night Football at the half continues after this. A reminder reminder, you are live and interactive at TSN, and here's an update on the QB1 standings through the half. And back at Taylor Field, well, just a typical CFL West game. Oh, so close at the half. 15-14 Edmonton with their thoughts on the first 30 minutes. Let's head back upstairs.
Rod, thank you. I thought first that we would take a look at the numbers from the opening 30 minutes of football here, and they tell an interesting story. The halftime stats brought to you by Dodge Trucks. First downs, pretty close, 13-9. Note for Saskatchewan, they only have 77 net yards. They lost 46 on that snap over the head of punter Paul McCallum. He had to give up the safety touch. But, Dave, we talked about it off the top of the show. Kevin Mason, the guys talked about it at halftime. If you're the coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, you leave him in for the rest of the game?
Well, it's a tough situation. Me being a quarterback, I hate to see anybody pulled out, but I think this may be the time to go to Reggie Slack. This is a situation we saw by the stats there that they really haven't done a lot offensively. This is a game that they can win, and you don't want to give one away here at home.
You know, and this is going to be the first time of many that I disagree with the quarterback being a defensive player. But I honestly think you leave him in for a while. It's a one-point football game. Why mess anything up right now? Let's just see if he can work his way out of it, and that's how you're going to make him better anyways. Might ruin his confidence right now if you pull him out early.
I think the quarterback and the defensive back would agree that this game will likely turn on a big defensive play, because that was certainly the story of the first 30 minutes of the football game. The second half is coming up next, but right now, stand by for a TSN Sports Update. Here's Brendan Connor. Home of the 1966 and 1989 Grey Cup champions, Taylor Field in Regina. We'll give you a feel of football here from the first half.
We're winning, or well, it's close, so it's a good game.
Absolutely. This is just a great evening. Look at the weather. It's holding off. Riders are going to win. That's what you want to hear, right? That's what I'm going to say.
Not everyone across the country might agree with that, but I think everyone would agree. A great first half here at Taylor Field. The Edmonton Eskimos will kick it off to Saskatchewan to start this second half. Edmonton opens with a 15-14 lead. The difference in this game, quite likely, the safety that Saskatchewan had to surrender on that snap over the head of Paul McCallum. Here's Terrell Ulmer on the kickoff return to the 25-yard line. Ulmer out across the 40 to the 45-yard line. Errol Martin and the kicker, Sean Fleming, up to make the stop, and Kevin Mason remains in at quarterback for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Talking to Gary Hoffman, the assistant coach. His numbers are very economical: 6 for 10, 67 yards, no TDs, but no picks. Danny McManus, 13 for 23, 212 yards, threw a touchdown pass. Also had a pass picked off for 6.
Well, good for Coach Daly. He's leaving him in the ball game. Glenn alluded to it at halftime that might hurt the confidence. No question, when you get pulled out of a ball game, it hurts you. I think this is a big plus for Daly to leave him in the ball game.
Saskatchewan opens with good field position. Takes it over the middle. Sean Daniels, and Daniels in Edmonton territory. Gets down to the 42-yard line. Great pitch and catch with the quarterback and the fullback.
Well, this is something that you go in at halftime and you draw it up based on what you've seen in the first half. And Sean Daniels just going to sneak out of the backfield, and he sees Willie Pless slide to the outside, cuts him in front of him, and Mason delivers a strike.
There's a situation where you had Dixon playing in a place of where Larry Rupp used to play, one of the great linebackers for Edmonton. Been on a little bit of a run fake there, it looked like, and wasn't there for the play.
Pick up a 23 there now. Rod Harris with a catch. Ooh, Rod Harris gets hit by some of the big people. Leroy Blue came back to help make the stop. Pickup of 6 for Rod Harris.
Efficient passing. Here's a situation where he nails Harris for a 6-yard gain. Now he's in a second down and medium situation, meaning between 4 to 6 yards.
Last week had his best week as a Saskatchewan Roughriders, 7 catches for 112 yards. But look what he did in 93 with you, 1,379 yards and 7 touchdowns.
He's what they call a player. When you're called a player, you couldn't be given any other moniker. You couldn't be given any better moniker than that. You're a player and people fear you, and he's a player.
Now second down, Saskatchewan, 4 yards to go at the Edmonton 36-yard line. Mason trying to draw them offside, gives it off to Mims. Mims, second effort across the 30, still going down the 24-yard line.
You're watching the CFL on TSN.
On first down, Mason under pressure. Look out! And he is dropped. Melvin Hunter had eyes as big as saucers when he saw Mason hesitate for a second. He just ate him up.
Well, this is straight speed from Melvin Hunter coming off the edge, working on Gene Mikowski, who's playing the right tackle position. Here's Hunter. Here's Mikowski. Now, he's just going to straight speed rush right past him. They get tangled up briefly, but watch the speed to the outside of Hunter, and then he just runs down Mason. He better get rid of it.
By the way, we apologize for some video problems a moment ago. Understand they're rectified, so don't go and buy a new TV. It was us. Second down, Saskatchewan after a loss of 11. Mason rolling up, swings his sidearm for Harris, but he was well covered by Tommy Henry on the play, and Saskatchewan will come up short on 3rd and 21 yards. And Kevin Mason on the run can't get the job done.
Well, I like what they've done with Kevin Mason the last 2 plays. First, they move the pocket and roll him to the left. This time, they're going to bring Mason on the dead roll to the right side. He makes a good, strong throw. Good coverage by Tommy Henry on Rod Harris.
Here's the Rolodex, which way they roll. Danny McManus has left the pocket once. I think that was during the anthem. Kevin Mason left 3 times, and now Paul McCallum will try a field goal from 42 yards out. Henry Williams back in case he misses. He does it. McCallum puts it through, and Saskatchewan is back on top. The Green Riders lead Edmonton 17-50. The 3rd quarter underway on a Friday night in Regina. Six years ago, he came back here on July 12th, back as a head coach. His first game for the Edmonton Eskimos against Saskatchewan. This was the opening kickoff taken by Albert Brown. 97 yards for a touchdown on the opening kickoff. Lancaster said, he almost ran over me as I came across the field from the introductions. Fans were just sitting down, bag of popcorn, and a fan yelled out to him and said, "Hey, Ronnie, what happened?" And then later in the game, the lights went out. There was about a 35-minute delay, and I interviewed Ronnie down in the field, and he said, having light, we pass it on to others. That's his college motto for Wittenberg College. The Edmonton Eskimos were down 20-0 in that game. Came back to win it. Ronnie won't soon forget his first game as the head coach of the Edmonton Eskimos here at Taylor Field. Now as Eskimos start at their own 35-yard line, down by a couple, they dump it underneath for Eric Blunt. Had trouble hanging on it. And that gave Lamar McGriggs a chance to haul him down. No gain on the play as Blunt had trouble handling that football. And Ronnie looks on as his offense tries to get going here, and Eric Blunt just had trouble corralling the bouncing ball.
And here's a little halftime adjustment. They go no backs in the backfield and put Eric Blunt in the slot and bring him across the field. But when Eric catches the ball, you got to go north and south, not sideline to sideline, because that's what these linebackers feed off of.
They call it a gain of under a yard. We'll mark it as 2nd and 10. McManus. Lots of time. Looking for Don Blair. He's got it. And now he's got room to run. Darren Flutie with a great block. And Terrell Ulmer saved a touchdown, bringing him down. Don Blair has his first catch of the football game. A first down for the Edmonton Eskimos. And a huge pickup of 34 yards.
Well, Don Blair may have made the biggest play of the game versus Calgary when Edmonton came back and won, and this is a pretty big one too. You know, his average so far this season is 22 yards a catch, and this is only going to add to it.
Darren Flutie made a great block too on Bryce Bevel.
I tell you, talk about great blocking. The offensive line has given Danny a lot of time to throw the football. That play took a long time to develop.
First down, Edmonton at the 41-yard line. McManus. Blunt. And he is dragged down from behind. Not much he could do there. John Kroenke jumped in to stop that one, and that was student body left. I mean, everybody was moving to that side of the ball, Glenn.
Yeah, you get both the right side of that offensive front five for the Edmonton Eskimos pulling to this side, but Bobby Jurison, the veteran, stands up the lead block and ends it right in the hole.
And they're all veterans up front, so it's really tough to get them with any screwy blocking assignments because they just fold right in on the play.
The top 2 rushers from a year ago in the CFL going toe-to-toe here. Now on second down, McManus under pressure. And it's a one-hopper. He was looking for Darren Flutie, but LeBrant Robinson was the guy that broke up that play because McManus knew he was seconds away from the turf.
Yeah, LeBrant Robinson was kind of waving. I don't know. That could have been an intimidation factor. And I know quarterbacks never get intimidated.
No, never.
But LeBrant Robinson's a big one. 6'4", 275 pounds. He was coming in there pretty hard. And I don't know if maybe that was a little short arm.
No, there was no intimidation.
Oh, okay, okay.
There was the fear of having his arm ripped out of the socket and thrown on the field.
He wasn't, just make a note of that, Glenn. He wasn't afraid there.
Yeah.
He wasn't intimidated. He just didn't want his arm ripped out. There's a difference.
Okay.
Sean Fleming, the punt, almost had his last one blocked. We'll run the clock on him and show you how he does. Good snap. Great check. And you hear them hollering to let it go, let it go. Ulmer picks it up. Flags are down. That'll be the 5-yard no yards. They take it out to the 20-yard line. So Fleming gets a bad bounce off the artificial turf here at Taylor Field, and Saskatchewan will have decent field position. And he got that off in about a second and a half. Not too bad.
Well, and the timing was perfect.
No yards. Edmonton decline. First down.
I mean, what happens there is Sean Fleming catches in stride. It's a good snap. He takes one step and lets it go. It's, I mean, when the snap is right and everything's working fine, you should get the ball off cleanly. That time he did.
Well, that'll make Coach Obi happy down there. He's been talking about the receivers on punt return standing at the 10. If it goes over the head, let it go. And I think Obi's down there applauding right now. If I can see him down there in the tent, Glenn.
I think those are jumping jacks.
No.
Okay.
First down. The give goes off to Mims. Look out. Here he comes around the corner. Mims up to the 46-yard line. A 26-yard carry for Robert Mims. And he loves to run against Edmonton. Not many guys do.
You know, Ron Lancaster made the statement that this team just seems to run the ball really well against us. He didn't know what it is.
Now, we talked about some substitutions for Edmonton, and Robert Mims going to hit it up in there right now. And there's a good block at the point of attack by Sean Daniels, the fullback. Mims makes a nice move to the outside to pick up the yardage.
First down, Saskatchewan from the 46. This is Mims again. And again he breaks through into Edmonton territory. Down to the 49-yard line. Robert Mims is running wild.
Well, this was Ronnie's biggest fear, Ron Lancaster's fear, the coach of Edmonton, that they would be able to pound the football on the ground against them, and that's exactly what they're doing. He said he didn't know what it was, but Saskatchewan always ran the ball well against them. I'll tell you what it is. They're the best defense in the league, and this offense is jacked up to play against them.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when you got a front four that loves to sack the quarterback, they sometimes tend to get upfield too quickly.
Mims over 100 yards after a gain of 14. Quick drop, Mason. Tries to draw play, busted play. And now Mason close to a first down as he ducks a 41-yard line. Bruce Dixon almost decapitated him. That was what? An attempted receiver screen / draw / quarterback draw
You know what this is? This is just a great athletic play. You don't coach this. This is just a broken play, and the athlete takes off and tries to make something happen.
I'll tell you what Mason saw there is he saw a receiver uncovered and was going to raise up and dump it to him, but the receiver didn't look for the ball, and he was caught in no man's land, so he had to do it himself.
I think I'll throw it and run the ball. And they give it up the middle once again, and that time Sean Daniels with the carry bulls his way down for a first down across the 40-yard line of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, doing it just like they used to in the good old days when 34 used to wear green and 23 used to hand in the ball. Ronnie and George put on that show here at Taylor Field. They just took that blunt instrument and beat you with it.
Yeah, and I heard those two names in my 11 years in this city quite a few times.
Yeah, you're good, Glenn, but
you know, Ron Lancaster, okay.
Here's Mims again. Lost the football. Mims fumbled. And it appears the Eskimos got it back. The Edmonton Eskimos have recovered the fumble. Errol Martin gets it back, and the Edmonton Eskimo defense has turned in the latest big play. Saskatchewan leads by 2. Saskatchewan Roughriders fumbled the ball 35 times, most in the Canadian Football League. Robert Mims loses the handle that time, and the Edmonton Eskimos defense gives the offense the ball back at the Edmonton 38-yard line. And Mims says, don't worry, I'll be back. He's already over 100 yards. We've still got 5 minutes to play in the third quarter. And there's the man who recovered it, Harold Martin. On first down, Tony Burst stacked up quickly. Bobby Jurison got up there high, a gain of a couple. David, defenses practice this, right? And Edmonton's good at it.
Well, this is something that always irritates the offensive people in training camp. Glenn, you guys work on this all the time.
That's right. It's called tackling the football. You either work on stripping it out with your arms, and if you can't do that, throw that shoulder or head in there and try and tackle the football. Exactly what Willie Pless did and popped it out of there.
We got a flag on the play.
43 Saskatchewan.
Objectionable conduct is the call against K.D. Williams. And as a result, the Edmonton Eskimos will move out to their own 50-yard line. And Mr. Williams has a large repertoire of objectionable things in his history.
Well, I think he was clean in the tackle because he was part of that tackle on Tony Burst. But I think when he got up and told him about it, is where he got to the description kills you, right?
When you describe it to the guy, that kills you.
He started doing color.
And there's only 2 guys getting paid to do that tonight. First down from the 50, McManus. Quick swing, and Robert Gordon broke the route up, and the ball fell into the hole.
Well, McManus wanted Tony Burst going up the weak side seam, and Lamar McGriggs does a great job of collisioning Burst as he comes off the ball. Collisioning? Can you say that? Is that right?
I don't know.
We're going to have to get the Websters up here.
I don't know. I gotta throw the flag on that one, Dave.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's terrible.
You know, the inquiry light's blinking on that one. There's kids watching. You know, now they're going to school tomorrow saying collisioning. I guess, but then again, kids don't go to school on Saturday in the summertime, do they? 2nd and 10. McManus swings it, and that time Gordon had a step on Benson Donaldson, but the pass was just out of his reach. Edmonton will have to punt.
I think the defensive line for Saskatchewan's played a great ball game. There's been a lot of opportunities for them, or a lot of times they've knocked the ball down, negated completions that were going to happen downfield. And this time they just put enough pressure on McManus. There, Bobby Jurison comes clean, that rushes the throw, doesn't allow McManus to sit in there and deliver the ball on target. They've played the best game defensively of either group, the defensive line of Saskatchewan.
Fleming now to punt. In his first year as the full-time kicker for the Edmonton Eskimos, he's got both jobs. High snap. Fleming gets it away. High kick right up an elevator shaft. Harris from the 25-yard line. Oh, look out. Rod Harris got hammered down by Tony Burst. And there's a flag down in the area where the punt return happened, down at the 23-yard line. We'll see what that's all about. And we'll sort it out when we come back. Friday Night Football on TSN returns to Taylor Field right after this. Welcome back to Taylor Field. The Saskatchewan defense talking it over as the offense goes to work. A 35-yard punt, but illegal block called against Saskatchewan's Ryan Carey. Pushes the Riders back to the 17, and now Scott Hendrickson decides he'll get an early jump on a block there, and they'll move back 5 yards further, as every official on the field apparently saw that infraction and threw the flag.
This will be illegal procedure. Saskatchewan 63.
And not much doubt about this one.
Well, Scott Hendrickson, after the big break, was trying to think of the snap count. He's sitting right there.
Was it 3?
Was it 3 or 2? Was it 1? Okay, I think it was 1. Okay, it was on 1. I'm pretty sure. Huh? What is it? It's 1.
I'm going.
No, it was 2.
I think his offensive tackle even told him it was 1.
Robert Mims trying to break it outside. Look at Mims when there appears to be nothing. Fights his way ahead, gets a pickup of 7 yards. Let's take you back to Sean Fleming's punt of a moment ago. A nice high kick. And Fleming said after his game last week in Calgary that I'm sure they'll come after us. I'm a new punter, but that doesn't bother me. Hey, you know, I guess you got to ask yourself, is this the toughest kicker in the Canadian Football League? And then you'd say to yourself, well, really, does it matter?
Well, the time's pretty good. Again, he gets it off in time. The snap is playable. And 2-3 is what they're looking for.
Kind of like asking who is the smartest Charlie's Angel. Does it really matter? Mason on 2nd down. Lots of time. Has a man. Harris, he's got the catch. Somehow Derek Beatty can't believe he didn't get at least a piece pace of that football.
And those ones drive you nuts as a defensive back. You read the play, you're reading the quarterback's eyes, you're right in the spot, and somehow they make the catch.
And this catch is all Rod Harris because he works back to the football. The ball's thrown a little bit to the inside, but Rod doesn't give up on the throw. He continues to work back. Great coverage by Beatty, but Harris makes the play.
Now Saskatchewan with a first down at the 31-yard line. 3 receivers at the top of the screen. Robert Mims. And Mims tripped up, still manages to get 5 out to the 38-yard line. Robert Mims was dynamite last year, racking up 1,403 yards, one of 4 1,000-yard rushers. And last year against Edmonton, did all right. 259 yards rushing against Edmonton in 2 games. Remember, this Edmonton defense gave up the fewest points, the fewest touchdowns, the fewest first downs, and the fewest yards. So you're doing something against this Edmonton D.
Pretty good night tonight so far.
Second down, here's Mims again. Flags are down. Willie Flash hanging on to Mims, but he may just have the first down pending the penalty, and forget about it. It's going back.
That was a pretty nice confrontation there. One of the great linebackers that ever played in this league, Willie Pless, comes up, and I believe Mims was the hammer that time, and
holding. Saskatchewan 54.
Roughriders. Center Carl Coulter called,
and Pless was the nail.
Carl Coulter right here, and your screen will follow him. Pless is going to come up late on the play, but he's working on McCready. He slices in there, and Carl Coulter puts the clamps on him.
As a result, now 2nd and 15 for Saskatchewan. Under 2 minutes to play in the third quarter. The Riders with a 2-point lead on the Edmonton Eskimos. Look out. Willie Pless snuck across the line of scrimmage that time, and I think they decided that if they let the play go, he might have killed somebody, so they call that one back. It was either Pless or Blue. They both had some early moves.
Offside, Edmonton 89.
Leroy Blue gets called. And now Saskatchewan's back to 2nd and 10, right where it was a couple of plays ago.
Right at the top of your screen. See Willie Pless sneaking up. Here, whoops, there's the offside. That snap count. Staggering that snap count. It's worked a couple times.
Second down. Here's Mason under pressure. Slings it out there. Here's Reed. Mason's the only guy with a shot. Forces it back inside. Reed, touchdown. 43 yards. Second time in a year he's done it to Saskatchewan. Return a pick for a touchdown. He's done it again here, and the Eskimos are back on top.
Gord, Cavis Reed always plays the wide side field corner. Now, when you're on the wide side field corner, David Archer will tell you it's a long throw to the out, and you better throw it on time, even if you're playing in a zone defense, which Cavis Reed is playing in this play.
Yeah, this is just a situation where Kevin's late throwing the ball, just like you said, Glenn, and Cavis never comes out of his back pedal. He never gets his hips turned upfield or anything, and you can't throw that pass. That's a bad mistake by Mason, and now he's put his team behind.
Cavis Reed, 7 interceptions a year ago, and as I mentioned, one of them returned for a touchdown against Saskatchewan. He duplicates the feat here in 1997. The point after now gives the Eskimos the lead back at 22-17. So both defenses have scored touchdowns in this football game, and let's have another look at exactly what happened, Glenn.
Well, Cavis Reed is way off. He's going to play deep cush. He's right on the numbers. Number 4 there. Plays back, reading the quarterback's eyes. Like David Archer said, didn't come out of his back pedal. That ball's in the air. It's got a long way to go, and that's his.
And then you think back to what happened a year ago when Cavis Reed really turned another game around for the Edmonton Eskimos. Warren Jones was the Saskatchewan quarterback. It was 13-0 Edmonton. The Riders had the ball deep in Edmonton territory. Jones falling, threw it up for grabs. It was grabbed by Cavis Reed, who took it to the house, as they say.
Bye-bye.
105 yards for the touchdown, and Edmonton went on to win it 32-13. A crushing loss that was for Saskatchewan, and now you wonder if this Cavis Reed interception for a touchdown hasn't given the Eskimos the upper hand here. 1:07 to play in the third quarter.
You know, Glenn alluded to the fact that Cavis always plays the wide side of the field for Edmonton's defense, and it takes some knack to play out there because you have to gamble a little bit. Marvin Coleman plays a lot of wide side stuff for Calgary, and he does a great job of sitting on routes, baiting you into throwing routes throwing the route out there late. And Cavis has turned a lot of plays just like that throughout his career into big plays for the defense.
So you mean all those times I tried to play off and make you think that you had that zone? Are you mean to tell me that sometimes it might have worked? Because I never thought it did.
Believe me, Glenn, you had me fooled the entire field.
Yeah,
Because first of all, I didn't think you were lining up in the right place. And then I realized that you just knew more about this game than I did.
I don't know about that.
He can't possibly be lined up that deep. Is he actually on the field?
He might as well buy a ticket back there.
Sean Fleming to kick it off as the lead seesaws back and forth at Taylor Field, and Fleming leans into this one. Mayfield from the 15-yard line. Right up the middle he goes. A flag comes down late. 33-yard line. And we'll see what the flags are all about. A couple of them came down. Illegal block against Saskatchewan. That won't help. Wow. Here's the call.
Illegal block. Saskatchewan 32.
The Roughriders. The illegal block is called against Chris Sherka, and he was the guy that Henry Williams vaulted over earlier. And look at the emotion that the Edmonton Eskimos have here in Taylor Field, a park that has not been kind to them in recent years. The Eskimos have lost 8 of their last 10 games played here in Regina.
And you know they're getting excited. This is a tough West Division this year. Every point's going to help, and these teams play each other 2 more times this year.
Penalty puts Saskatchewan back to its own 17. On first down, Mason. Long throw for Harris, and that time he is wrapped up immediately. Derek Beattie does a good job to stop Rod Harris after a gain of 2. That's a long throw for 2 yards.
Well, Kevin's got a situation where he needs to read the weak side halfback, which is Glenn Rogers. Glenn's rolling back to the middle of the field with the 3 receivers of the wide side of the field and leaving Reggie Pleasant one-on-one backside with Donald Narcisse. I think this is an area they can attack, and it's a shorter throw for Kevin Mason.
Had that picked off. He was looking for Dan Farthing, but the pass falls incomplete. 6 seconds to go here in the 3rd quarter. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders, the good news is, will punt with the wind.
Well, sometimes you get coverage sacks. Well, this is what you call pressure that caused the incompletion, because Willie Pless coming in on the blitz, and you know Kevin Mason knew he was in the area and just couldn't get that one on target.
Did you have a Willie Pless detector, Dave? Did you have sort of a little thing that went off in the back of your head? Like,
no, but I had a bullseye on my chest. It seemed like Willie was planted in the entire time I played against Edmonton.
McCallum. Good kick. Drives the Gizmo back to his 35. This is returnable. Oh, look out. K.D. Williams on special teams flies downfield and makes the stop. Final play of the 3rd quarter. The Edmonton Eskimos have regained the lead, 22-17. The 4th quarter still to come. Stand by now for the game down in the corner.
Friday night football tonight.
6 lead changes so far in this game as the Edmonton Eskimos once again have that lead. But kudos to Saskatchewan for the use of Robert Mims, Les. He is looking like the Robert Mims of old.
Well, you know, they say the more you give a running back the ball, the better he gets. And that's true of Robert Mims, because in Winnipeg, we used to call him Mimtendo, because the more you play him, the better he gets. Now he's Super Mimtendo. The guy has got 16 carries for 119 yards. That is excellent on a day like this.
That's part of the game plan was to go with Nintendo, as you call him, against Tommy Henry, who's a defensive back playing a linebacker's position. But Tommy Henry has really responded pretty well tonight. And I think it's kind of interesting because he didn't play very well last week. He took a couple of canned pepper pills that were given to him by his teammate Reggie Pleasant, and he took ill. He got nauseous, and he couldn't finish the game. He's responded a lot better tonight.
It's difficult to segue out of pepper pills, so I won't even bother trying. But talk about special teams again, Bob. In a game this close especially, and some rookie long snappers in there, it's been a factor in this game.
There's some really interesting scenarios in this game because when you look at the 2 teams, they both have rookie kickers doing both in their first year, and they both have rookie long long snappers, and in a tight game like this, we've already seen one snap go over Saskatchewan's head, so that could be a factor as we go into this fourth quarter.
Well, of the 3 previous games in the CFL West, this is the closest one after 3 quarters, and all the other games came down to 1 point at the very end. This one promising to be very close in the fourth. Back upstairs.
Rod, here are the numbers after 3 quarters. The time of possession, oh, big difference there. I mean, that's what, 22 seconds. 5 turnovers in the game thus far. K.D. Williams has been all over the place, and here's how it looks and sounds. That was the tackle, then the description.
Well, that's an all-star linebacker making a play on special teams, and that pumps up all the young guys around him, knowing that their big-timers are out there making plays on special teams.
Edmonton starts with its 43-yard line. Eddie Brown has that pass falling complete. There is a guy in Canada sitting right now in Vancouver chuckling to himself. His name is Mike Trevathan, and he said K.D. Williams can talk all he wants. But I ragdolled him last week. Last week, Mike Trevathan dropped a load of bricks on K.D. Williams.
You know, and everybody's seen the hit, and from what I understand, Mike's been trying to hush that up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I think they have to play a couple more times this season.
He asked me that. He said, you guys got to stop talking about this because I'm going to see him again, and I know he's going to get me back.
Second down, Edmonton from the 43. The Eskimos have the win here in the fourth quarter. Flags are down. McManus over the middle. Eddie Brown has the catch. Beats the first man. Now look out. Jailbreak. And Eddie Brown is all the way down to the 32-yard line. There's a flag down, and I think this might be against Saskatchewan.
Well, were they drawn offside, or did they jump?
It's a 34-yard gain pending the penalty.
K.D. Williams.
Ooh, it's going back. Procedure, Edmonton.
K.D. Williams was very close. He was coming on the blitz.
The illegal procedure. Edmonton, number 20.
Don Blair is called for illegal procedure.
And it was Blair that drew K.D. Williams off. He jumps a little bit early, but Blair had got across the line of scrimmage already.
There's nothing that makes a coach more angry than to have one of his receivers be the person that's offside. That's a no-no. You cannot be offside as one of your outside receivers.
Second and 15. Here comes the kitchen sink from Saskatchewan. No, 3-man rush, drop play. And Blunt gets out to the 43. I think the Eskimos thought the kitchen sink was coming as well. But the drop play well handled by the Saskatchewan D, and Edmonton will be forced to punt.
Well, you know, it's one thing to run that drop play on 2nd and 5 and 2nd and 6, but that was a long way to go.
I'd say that's
first down.
That's a minimize the mistake right there. Yeah. That's a situation where they didn't want to put Danny in a situation where he's throwing against 9 people dropping into coverage. Hey, let's run it up in here for what we can get and punt it, and let's get defense on the field, let them play some defense.
Terrell over, Rod Harris back to receive the kick. Another high kick from Fleming. Harris to the 21-yard line. Oof. Tough hit just shy of the 30-yard line. And the Edmonton Eskimos get a good hit from Mark Fairway. And a hard-hitting game on a Friday night in Saskatchewan. Back in Saskatchewan, Edmonton leads by 5, and with 13:32 to play in the fourth quarter, Saskatchewan has gone to the bullpen. Kevin Mason on the sidelines, Reggie Slack into the game for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Last year, 10 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions in that Winnipeg quarterbacking maelstrom that saw 3 or 4 guys arm wrestling for the job at various times. On first down, he gives it off to Robert Mims. And Mims quickly out to the 40-yard line. And a Saskatchewan first down after a pickup of 11 yards. And you got to wonder what Kevin Mason's feeling right now.
Well, it's one of the worst feelings in the world to be pulled out of a game as a quarterback, especially after you've thrown a 50-yard interception for a touchdown. You would like to have had a chance to come back and wash that taste out of your mouth, but I think this is the right situation. They gave Kevin a chance to come in at after half and be the guy, and he just wasn't able to get anything done.
First down from the 40. Slack under pressure. He's going to rock it for an arm, and Mayfield makes the catch up to the 49-yard line. Tavis Reed makes the stop. Curtis Mayfield's first catch of the football game. two things about Reggie Slack. No question, he has one of the strongest arms in football. The other thing is he has one of the lousiest knees, and that's been what's been holding him back the last couple of years.
And I tell you, Curtis Mayfield kept that from being picked off. That was a late throw on a hitch route, and the corner had already broken on the play. Mayfield came to the football and took away the angle for the cornerback to make the play. But in defense of Kevin Mason, let's not forget, this is a young quarterback that's going to be a star in this league, and he's just got to get his feet wet a little bit more.
Second and a yard. They give it off to Sean Daniels, and look at that. He just bowls over Willie Flesh, and he's got a Saskatchewan first down. Well, Jim Daly, the Saskatchewan coach, insists this is not a quarterbacking controversy. He says that is a figment of the media's imagination here in Saskatchewan. But maybe it's perception being reality. If they're talking about it nonstop, maybe it is a controversy. He says Kevin finished last game with momentum. Both quarterbacks are ready. We have no hesitation to use either of them.
Yeah, and in my conversation with Coach Daly this afternoon, he said Reggie Slack won the job. Kevin Mason is young and will play this year. But make no mistake, Reggie Slack won the starting job.
First down, Slack from the shotgun. Fires over the middle. The pass falls incomplete. Looking there for Dan Farthing. Well, it's interesting to note, guys, you know, in hockey they always say that teams that use two goaltenders don't often win. But in football, lots of teams have used two quarterbacks who won the Grey Cup. Saskatchewan had a couple in Tom Burgess and Ken Austin. BC used two, McManus and Austin. Toronto with Dunnigan and Foggy. It's been done a lot.
See a little backside pressure there from Edmonton. But, you know, if you don't have a David Archer or a Doug Flutie playing quarterback for you, you really do need two. Because there's only a couple that can do it on their own. If you got one guy, especially if they have different styles, one's a runner, one's a drop back, makes it tough on defenses.
Second down. Slack fires it there. A one-hopper looking for Donald Narcisse. Slack took a shot at the end of that play. His bearing down on him was Jed Roberts, and Slack slow to get up, and Saskatchewan will see the offense give way to the punting unit.
Well, this was the exact scenario I was talking about earlier. Donald Narcisse is being left as singled by Reggie Plesman on the backside of a three-receiver package to the wide side of the field, and Reggie just one-hops it to him, probably because he got hit in the face by somebody coming up the middle. But that's a situation that's there, and they haven't taken advantage of it. And Reggie saw that obviously from the sideline and came in and tried to take advantage of it, just didn't get the ball to him.
Benny Goods is the injured Edmonton Eskimo, and that would be a gigantic loss for Edmonton. Eighth-year man Benny Goods been named to the last three CFL All-Star teams, and what a force he was. 12 sacks last year for the Edmonton Eskimo team that led the league with 70. That was 22 more than anyone else had in the CFL a year ago.
Yeah, 41 from just the front four, and he was the leader.
Most of them were on me, I think. Based on reading the press guide, every time I went through a guy, he had 12 sacks. 3 were against Ottawa, so it was usually me. They were sacking.
You have the bruises to prove it.
Yeah.
This is Gizmo from the 27-yard line. He is quickly stuffed. Henry Newby gets down to help make the stop. A 31-yard punt and a return of 8. 10:56 to play in the fourth. Edmonton and Saskatchewan going at it.
Friday night football tonight.
Back at Taylor Field in Regina, a sensational night for football and a good old-fashioned buckle up your chin strap, tie up your shoes, and look out.
We've got the wave going here in Regina, and Glenn's doing it also. This is unbelievable.
Hey, I have roots here. I have a little bit of roots here. I'm trying to be neutral.
First down, they give it off to Eric Blunt, tracing outside. Will Johnson gives him a chase, and now Newby knocks him out of bounds. And it's better than days when they used to burn Glenn in effigy here. So they've come a long way here in Regina. Here's the game story. Lamar McGriggs and Aaron Joseph combined on a 95-yard interception return for a touchdown. Robert Mims has 130 yards rushing. Kavis Reed, a 43-yard INT return for a touchdown, and Mason has been replaced after passing for 110 yards.
You know what I love about this one? 2 big plays out of 4 from the defense. Huh? You gotta love that.
As a quarterback that was struggling, I used to love that too. I used to love the defense to do something.
Just your defense. McManus, oh, look out. All kinds of contact. Don Blair tied up there with Dale Joseph. The flag comes down. K.D. Williams vociferously arguing his case, but he can give that up because you know what? Bud Steen's a lawyer, and that he won't get anywhere with it.
You know what? I always go with the DBs, but David.
Forward pass interference. Saskatchewan 21.
Dale Joseph, I think, got caught here. I always go with them. Here's Dale Joseph. here's Don Blair. Now, it's going to be hard for me to make an argument for a DB here, isn't it?
Yeah,
right?
Do you think he made a mistake?
Wow.
Okay.
You know, that's like major for him. For him, that's like a stern indictment. That for him, like take a picture of what just happened there, because that never happens. First down for the Eskimos on the Saskatchewan side of midfield. McManus under pressure, hangs it out there. Flutie makes the catch in front of Patrick Burke. You could have hung your laundry on that ball. Holy smokes.
This is a heck of a throw by Danny, but this is a situation that Kevin Mason was faced with, throwing a ball to the wide side of the field on the out. The difference here is that you've had a rookie corner playing against a veteran receiver, as opposed, and it looks like Danny banged himself up a little bit trying to roll to the left.
16 for 30, 256 yards. That would mean that G. Kemp would come into the game for Edmonton. He was here last year with the Saskatchewan Roughriders and won the job as Edmonton's #2 quarterback.
The way he's holding that right arm down there, and they're looking at the shoulder, he can't pick it up.
And we'll see if we can have a look at what exactly happened to Edmonton's quarterback.
Well, he's going to try and get it out to the flat here, and see right at the end of the play.
Looks like a finger.
Yeah, LeBrant Robinson got his hand up.
I think it's finger.
Right on his index finger.
That happens so often to quarterbacks, Dave. Your fingers on helmets. I mean, I'm looking at your hands right now. It looks like a corkscrew.
Yeah, that is one of the worst things. You've always got people in your face, and for a pocket passer, as Danny McManus is, you've always got helmets and hands and all sorts of stuff coming in that you're going to whack your hand on. And I think throughout my career, my index finger was swollen about 3 sizes larger than it should have been, simply because of whacking it on helmets and in hands.
Now, once you hit it, that's it. That's the index finger, your throwing hand. That's not one you put the aspirin on and can come back out as a quarterback.
Why, he'll suck up and he'll play. I guarantee you, Danny. If he had dislocated the finger, Danny will play. It's something you can get back to. Jimmy Kemp is a guy that backed me up in San Antonio and is a very accomplished guy, knows a lot about the game, very smart player.
Last year, he's here with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, the son of Jack Kemp, the former quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, a U.S. senator and maybe presidential candidate. He was Bob Dole's running mate for vice president. Jimmy Kemp was here a year ago. Kemp, 6 touchdown passes, 10 interceptions for the Green Riders. And he was one of the 5 starting quarterbacks that Saskatchewan employed last year. And it was believed he might have had a shot at the starting job this year, but Mason really came on near the end of the year, and he was able to catch on with the Edmonton Eskimos. So now it's Kemp's job to preserve the lead as Danny McManus goes to the sidelines. And I don't know, McManus might be all right. He's going to give it a try with a football down there. 2nd and inches for Edmonton. And they're booing Jimmy Kemp big time here at Taylor Field. Just dive straight ahead for the Edmonton first down.
Now, what you get with Jimmy Kemp in the ballgame is you get a guy that can move around a little bit more than Danny McManus does, but doesn't have the experience, won't be making the on-time throws. He's going to be a guy that's going to hang on to the ball a little bit longer. But again, you gain a little bit of athleticism in the pocket.
You're back up with San Antonio, right?
Now, when you... Sorry, excuse me, guys. When you say he's going to hold on to the ball a little longer, you don't think that front forward in Saskatchewan's thinking about that right now? Let's get some heat on him.
He's an ex-teammate, and I'm sure there's a few defensive players want to pay him back for some of the plays he made last year.
First down from the 43-yard line. Under 9 minutes to play in the 4th quarter. From the shotgun. Kemp under pressure. Look out, down. Troy Alexander comes up with the sack. That's his 2nd of the game. And Kemp dropped back to the 51-yard line. It's a loss of 8 yards.
And David, exactly what you talked about. It looked like Kemp got kind of happy feet, and that allowed Troy Alexander to come off the corner and keep working on his pass rush. At the top right-hand corner of your screen, he's going to be working on Thomas Rayam, and he keeps working and working. Kemp can't find anybody, and that pocket starts to collapse.
It's tough for a quarterback to come off the bench and squeeze the trigger for the first time. You don't really want to throw the ball to the other team.
2nd and 18. Kemp fires it, has Darren Flutie, and Flutie has a first down. The quarterback's best friend, a play like that. Flutie hangs in there for a big catch and a first down.
And how did we know that Darren Flutie would be the guy to make this catch? I mean, this is a guy that knows his stuff. There's Danny McManus having the hand looked over.
Look at him laughing. He's in a 5-point game. He's hurt. And he's laughing on the sideline.
And you know what? Go back to that play. I bet you Darren Flutie went in there after the first play and that was a sack and said, listen, don't worry about it. I'll be open right over the middle. Throw it to me.
That's a smart quarterback. Knows the all-star there and goes and gets him the ball.
Flutie, 6 catches, 122 yards. Edmonton first down from the 32. Blunt, sprint draw, and he gets back down to the 30-yard line, wrapped up quickly by Henry Newby and Bobby Jurison for a gain of a couple.
Henry Newby did a good job of reacting to the run because he was on a straight-out pass rush and then cut back under to make that running play. You know, in the first week versus BC, he was running down the field with Corey Philpott. That is not an easy task. Wow. This guy's a big guy, and he can fly for a linebacker.
6'2", 230 pounds, a free agent out of BC. A guy who almost killed Doug Flutie a couple of years ago. Low bridged him in Calgary. That was almost curtains for Flutie. 2nd and 8. Kemp under pressure and dropped again. Troy Alexander got there. So did Bobby Jurison. And Jimmy Kemp is dropped again. Back to the 40-yard line. And Kemp will remain in to hold for the field goal try of Sean Fleming.
You know what? Nothing fancy about this defense. This is called a team meeting in the Edmonton Eskimos backfield because this pocket is collapsed. One guy makes a sack, but these 4 reestablish the line of scrimmage. Watch the solid pressure. This is 4 on 5, and all 4 are back there.
Now Fleming, a long field goal from 47 yards out with the wind at his back. A big one, too, and give Edmonton an 8-point lead. Fleming's got lots on it, but pushed it to the right. And Curtis Mayfield wisely elects to surrender the single point. And an Edmonton lead that was 5 is now 6 with 6:15 to play in the 4th quarter at Taylor Field in Regina. Well, Sunday, Toronto's at Hamilton, and that's just the beginning of a big week of football here on TSN. Wednesday, Calgary at Montreal, BC, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Hamilton, Toronto, Saskatchewan, all the CFL live on TSN. Saskatchewan, 1st and 10 from its 39-yard line. Slack back out there, and has his man, Curtis Mayfield. Mayfield up and running down to the 51-yard line, and a Saskatchewan first down. Reggie Slack has kind of a funny delivery, but it gets there.
He's got a great arm. It takes him a little while to get it unwound, but when it comes out of there, it's popped out of there. He takes a little too long to get this ball out. He sees that Rod Harris draws double coverage, and there's Curtis standing out there all alone with Kavis Reed.
But David, you alluded to it earlier. Get the ball to your big play guys.
Slack on first down. Just slings it up there. Wide open Harris. One man to beat. And he's pushed out of bounds by the safety Trent Brown up to the 19-yard line. You can do worse than throwing the ball to Rod Harris and Curtis Mayfield.
And no one runs this route better than Rod Harris does. The corner route. This is a route that commonly was called the flag back in the old days. This is a route where Rod Harris runs straight up the field, makes a little hit towards the goalpost, and runs to the corner of the end zone. Beatty falls down, and Rod makes a twisting catch. He's a big play guy.
Reggie Slack felt the pressure collapsing around him, and just as he threw that one kind of topsy-turvy, hit his knee, but he looks okay, and we talked about that knee earlier.
First down, Saskatchewan from the 20, back to the ground. Robert Mims, a pickup of maybe a couple down to the 18-yard line. Well, Reggie Slack is a guy whose knee has been reconstructed surgically. Some teams looked at him and medically didn't feel he'd be able to play anymore. There's almost no cartilage left in his right knee, but he is able to play, and he's actually quite mobile, and he feels his knee's as good as it's ever been.
When I talked to the training staff here in Saskatchewan, they did some extra testing on Reggie Slack's knee during physicals, and everything came out A-OK.
Works hard in the Stairmaster to keep that leg in shape. Gain of a yard. Now on 2nd and 9, Slack. Under pressure, and down he goes. Willie Pless got there. Benny Goods was there. And a huge loss for Slack as he's dropped for a loss of about 11 yards all the way back to the 30-yard line. And on comes the field goal unit with Paul McCallum. This to pull Saskatchewan within 3.
And that's what you call a coverage sack. David Archer, look to the front side, no one there. Look to the back side, no one there. And eventually they're going to get to you.
And that defensive front for Edmonton is just always coming after you. They don't ever give up. You don't see a guy stop rushing on the Edmonton defensive front. They continue to come.
Now McCallum from 37 yards out. High snap. Mason gets it down, and McCallum misses it to the left. Into the end zone for a pretty meaningless single point with 4:08 to go. Now Saskatchewan down by 5.
You know, I asked both coaching staffs, with their kickers now taking over the punting duties, were they concerned with the field goal kicking responsibilities? And both have said, not really, but we haven't really had much time to see if it will affect them. Coach Daly said that we've got a new center, we've got a new holder in Kevin Mason. I'm more concerned with timing than McCallum taking on the punting duties, but it seems to be affecting them early.
And on the other side of the field, Danny McManus returns to direct the Edmonton Eskimo attack. The clock running under 4 minutes to play now in the 4th quarter. Edmonton now will try to chew up the clock and nurse this 5-point lead. McManus changing the play. Gives it off to Eric Blunt. Look out, LeBrant Robinson. I don't know if he's read the Edmonton playbook, but it sure looks like it.
Well, I don't know, David. Do you think it looked to me like he didn't really change the play as much as changed the side the play was going to be run on?
I think you're exactly right, Glenn. There's a call at the line of scrimmage that most of the quarterbacks use in the Canadian Football League. They've made a call in the huddle when they come to the line of scrimmage and don't like the front to the side they're running to. They just make an opposite call at the line of scrimmage. Opposite, opposite, opposite. Same play, other side.
So they want to do everything opposite as they came out.
Like a mirror. Second and long. Here comes the rush. McManus slings it there. And look who's got the catch. Darren Flutie, first down up to the 47-yard line. And yeah, it looks like that finger's bothering Danny McManus. He threw a rope out there. The 3-minute warning has arrived at Taylor Field. Down to another nail-biter in the West. Edmonton with a 5-point lead on Saskatchewan. Welcome back to Regina. There's the Hotel Saskatchewan here in downtown Regina. See that now? There's my room right there. There's Glenn's room right there. Dave's right there. And right in here, there's a whole pile of room service trays. Like it looks like about 4 chickens were killed at 4 o'clock today to feed you two guys. Had to walk through the phones to get to the elevator.
You had to have your pregame meal. Doesn't change just because you're talking about the game, not playing it.
You had mine too. First down, Edmonton after the catch by Flutie. Back to the ground, and Tony Burst stumbles out across the 50 to the 51-yard line.
Well, that Saskatchewan defense has risen to the occasion a couple of times, but no more important than this series right here. They need to get the ball back into the hands of Reggie Slack.
And if you're a Saskatchewan defender and you're locked on number 82 for the Edmonton Eskimos, the ball's coming.
Jim Daly looking on. 2:30 to play here in the 4th quarter. McManus in the shotgun on the key second down play. Here comes the blitz. McManus gets it away. Gizmo Williams can't hang on. Terrell Ulmer thought he had a shot at it. The Gizmo out there as a receiver, but he can't squeeze it.
I'll tell you what, I'm stunned that he didn't get it. Darren Flutie is completely uncovered and wide open on this play, but Danny'd already made up his mind that he's going to throw the ball underneath to the Giz. Giz just coming underneath. He's got his man beat. The ball's thrown a little, well,
I don't know.
Ball's thrown right in the chest.
Yeah.
Don't see Giz on the pass routes too often, and
hey, Archer,
it's tough to come off the bench and be in a cold situation.
Archer almost went after a quarterback there. So
no, he couldn't do it. No,
he could double clutch though. He saw the chance and he just took it back.
You couldn't even say that was between the numbers. That was on the number.
Well, there's only one number, so he split that 2 in half. Now Sean Fleming to punt. Good kick high, and Rod Smith will take it down at the 15. Oh, lost the handle. And gets buried by the Edmonton Eskimos. Maybe a gain of a couple after a 37-yard punt. That's trouble right there. You're rolling around the field trying to roll the football. There's 6 guys who are earning paychecks covering those things for a living.
This is exactly what you do on that one. You lie there for a few minutes and you do sort of a count. Okay, ankle, okay. Knee, not bad. Little bruise. Thigh, not bad. You work your way up the body until you're okay, and then you get up.
Maybe just play dead. That might fake a heart attack or something.
See, that's why they didn't let Glenn return any kicks, because he laid on the field after it.
All right, here's the situation. 2:09 to go. Saskatchewan has it at its own 18-yard line. Reggie Slack in at quarterback. Back up they go. Curtis Mayfield was wide open. Kavis Reed was playing about 10 yards off, and he can't make the catch.
I think he took a peek here and looked to where he wanted to run the football, David.
Well, this is a situation where you don't really say anything to a veteran receiver. This time, Reggie gets the ball out quick. He sees that Rod Harris is being doubled up the seam, and they're standing wide open is Curtis Mayfield, and that's a catch Curtis knows he makes. You don't say anything to him the first time. The second time, you start waving to the sidelines for somebody to come in for him.
Wow, you're tough.
Do the Riders have another fourth quarter comeback in them? Here's Slack under pressure. Back out he goes. Look out. Derek Beatty almost had the pick, but they say he trapped it. And Reggie Slack got away with one there.
You know what's happening to Reggie is he's getting locked on people too much. He got locked on Rod Harris again this time. He wants to get him the ball, and rightly so, but he got locked on Rod Harris way too long. And again, Curtis is standing out there wide open. Got to pop the ball out there quick.
Zone defense by Derek Beatty. He had the flat route, dropped into the curl, then worked to the flat. Read the eyes of Reggie Slack and was right there.
That's well done by Beatty, because he knew he had to get underneath Mayfield to take away that throw, and just continue to run. A wide field, long way for him to go.
Now McCallum to punt with under 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Off the side of his foot. Kind of hangs up, but not much of a kick. It goes out of bounds at the 42-yard line, and a disappointing kick for Paul McCallum. Just 25 yards, and the Edmonton Eskimos have good field position, the wind and the clock on their side. What do you think this conversation's all about?
Well, they're trying to decide where they're going to go to dinner for after the game.
Yeah, this one's in the bag. This one's in the bag.
McManus is a guy that's a veteran quarterback, and I guarantee you Danny's doing the majority of the talking in that situation. He's calling all the plays. He's saying, okay, we're not going to take a lot of shots. I'm going to call plays where I have underneath throws, but I have a shot down the field, because he knows that Saskatchewan's going to be very aggressive defensively here. Maybe a shot to put the game away with a throw down the field.
1:53 to play in the fourth quarter. This Rider defense, which has scored a touchdown in this game, needs a big stop here. Toss to Eric Blunt. Look at Blunt go up this hole there. A gain of 10 yards up to the 32-yard line, and a big crease open to that Saskatchewan defense there, and Blunt stays in bounds.
Real nice block at the point of attack by Tony Burse on Bryce Bevel, the safety, who was asked in that situation to come up on run support, and that's a bit of a mismatch at 240 with Bryce Bevel at 185 pounds.
Tony relishes those situations too. When he sees a defensive back come up to try to make to try to divert a run play where he's lead blocking, I can't tell you, this guy thrives on contact, loves contact, wants to be on all the special teams. We've seen him make 4 or 5 tackles tonight, or 3 or 4 tackles tonight. Loves contact.
Just like you, Dave. You were a holder. You were on special teams. 2nd and inches for the Eskimos. McManus gives it off to Burse, and Burse fires his way inside the 25 to the 23-yard line. And now fans here in Regina starting to stir as the Edmonton Eskimos are chewing up the clock.
This is what's so impressive of Burse. Look at Saskatchewan. They have got every one of their defenders up in that line. And watch Burse with the athletic move right here. He loves the contact. He's very physical, but he's also got great feet.
Yeah, super block by Vic Stevenson there at the point of attack also. But yeah, this is a guy 6 feet, 240 pounds, jumping over people and then accelerating after he hits the ground.
First down for the Eskimos, and the clock is running. McManus tosses it up there for Eric Blunt. K.D. Williams makes the stop, but Blunt able to stay in bounds down to the 17-yard line. It'll be 2nd and about 4 yards with 1:04 to play here in the fourth quarter.
Well, right after the punt that went off the side of McCallum's foot, that defense for Saskatchewan came out knowing that 1 first down puts Edmonton into field goal position, which would pretty much ice this game. So you can tell right now their heads are down. They battle hard, but this is a tough series for them to rise up again.
And the Edmonton Eskimos poised to go 2-0 on the season. And both those wins would come on the road. And it looks like the clock ran out on Danny McManus and company. That'll stop the clock. Or did K.D. Williams jump offside?
Well, he's trying to anticipate the snap count and take the handoff from Danny McManus.
I think this is a bad play by KD, and the fact that he knows that Edmonton's going to run the football, make the tackle, burn the timeout, make them kick the field goal. You're still only down 8 points. You come back down the field and score and go for 2. I mean, you're not out of this ball game. And this is going to give them a first down if K.D. Williams is offside. So it's going to be very close. Got to keep your composure down the
offside. Saskatchewan 43.
Yikes. Tough penalty. It's a first down for the Edmonton Eskimos at the 13-yard line, and with 45 seconds left, that'll about do it.
Yeah, now you can talk about the game maybe being sealed. Right there was a play that they were going to stop the running play for maybe a 2 or 3 yard gain, make them kick the field goal, and they were going to get the ball back with time to move down the field. Now they've pretty much sealed their fate.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders so tough at home against the Edmonton Eskimos over the years. Got off to a good start in this football game defensively, but they have been unable to take advantage of it. Now Eric Blunt slides his way down to the 10-yard line. And whether Jim Daly likes it or not, and whether he thinks it's a creation of the media's imagination or not, I think he's got a quarterbacking situation on his hands. He's going to be asked a lot of hard questions after this game about pulling Kevin Mason and about who his starting quarterback's going to be.
I think you're right, Gordon. It was a situation where I think Reggie would have had to come in and light it up, and he didn't. He made some good throws, got some completions, but Kevin Mason got some completions too. Kevin's the more of the athlete at quarterback, a guy that can make some more things happen. So, yeah, I think he's got a definite dilemma on his hands now at quarterback, and it may be something that he created.
And, you know, you talk about a guy, Jim Daly, who has tremendous confidence. And, you know, people don't think about this, but when he brought in Cal Murphy to be an assistant coach, a lot of times that could be the death knell for a coach who might be in trouble. Anytime you see a guy brought in who's got experience, you could be inviting a guy in that could replace you at some point. Jim Daly has full confidence in his ability to coach this team and his ability to get good players, and no reason that he shouldn't bring an experienced guy like Cal Murphy in.
Yeah, they say that they meet all the time, and Jim Daly says that he really appreciates the experience that Cal Murphy brings to the table.
Jim Daly not afraid to speak his mind, not afraid to make tough decisions, which he's done tonight. Tony Burst with the carry, stuffed at the 10-yard line, 36 seconds to play, and Saskatchewan helpless to stop the clock. It's third down now. The Eskimos will bring the field goal unit out in the field. And there's life in the Riders, but just.
Well, now the only shot Saskatchewan has to win this football game is if they have some design play to block a field goal. Because they got to block it and hope that if they're going to kick it.
And
they may
after
not
further review, Ron Lancaster says to heck with the field goal team. So the clock ticking down. And McManus will just watch the clock here, let it run down. And he'll take a time count violation. Saskatchewan will get the ball. And 15 seconds left. Time for what? 2 shots, Dave? How many plays can you get off in 15 seconds?
Well, first of all, you're not going to have 15 seconds because they're going to kick the field goal, and you're going to lose 2 or 3 more seconds on the field goal. Get the ball at the 35. You've probably got you can probably eke 3 shots out of it, but it's got to be you got to be very efficient throwing the football, getting your team to the line of scrimmage. Obviously got to work the sidelines in this situation, conserve as much time as you can.
So Sean Fleming will try the field goal from 27 yards out. No one in the end zone to field it if he misses. Fleming puts it up, misses it to the right. Single point. So the lead that was 5 is now 6. Saskatchewan can win the game. 10 seconds left, and the Riders can win the game.
Student body right and heave it. Is that
Glenn,
the ball?
this is a situation where I've been in this situation as a quarterback where I'm behind, I need a score, and it seems like you guys practice this. This is a situation where you keep everything in front of you.
Yeah, that's right. You'll play 4, even 5 deep, and they'll be 30 to 40 yards deep. 2 guys will go behind for the tip in case there is one. Everyone's saying no pass interference call in this situation. Just knock it down. The game's ours.
Knock it down. Don't play for the stat. Knock it down. From the 35. 10 seconds to go. Slack. Under pressure. Barely. 5 seconds to go. Slack is sacked.
You know who is playing for the stat? The front 4. Because they know Reggie Slack's got to wait back there in the pocket and let his receivers get way downfield. So they pin their ears back and come.
Melvin Hunter had a couple of sacks last week, has another one here tonight.
A little stunt there from Melvin Hunter, cutting underneath Derek McCready, and boy, they were buzzing around Slack on that one.
And Edmonton showing no signs of letting up here. Now Slack. Sidearm slings it, and it's caught. No time left on the clock. The Edmonton Eskimos have won the football game. There are no flags, and so the Edmonton Eskimos, 24-18 in a tight defensive battle at Taylor Field. Everything you'd expect in a game between these two, and then some.
Really was. I think both teams came out and played extremely hard, and when you have hard play, there's going to be the ball turned over. Both teams turned the ball over, but ultimately it was the Edmonton team with the experience on both sides of the ball, and maybe even more so at quarterback, that ended up making the plays enough to win the ball game.
Yeah, I think that was one of the big differences. I mean, here you look at a Danny McManus compared to a Reggie Slack. More experience. He gets the finger hurt. He gets the drive at the end of the game to seal it for his team. I mean, that's where experience comes into play. No question.
The Edmonton Eskimos, thought by some to be perhaps on the decline this year with losses on defense. Singor Mobley and Larry Ruck left the linebacking core. They lost their starting corner from last year, Malcolm Frank, as well. But this defense showed it's still got some life in it. Lots to come on our post-game coverage. Rod, Marty, Les, and the gang will have their say. We'll talk to some of the participants tonight. Friday Night Football from Regina continues right after this. Time now for the TSN turning point, and it comes with a defensive play.
Kavis Reed sits on the out route. This is a team that led in 12 defensive categories last year.
Takes it to the house, and I just want to bring it up one more time. A defensive back made the play of the game.
A cash donation will be made for the training and development of Canadian coaches in amateur sport. Yes, they teach defensive backs too. On behalf of TSN, as Kavis Reed has tonight's TSN turning point. Oh my dear. Back with a whole lot more from Regina. Friday Night Football continues right after this.
Certain things like interceptions go with the territory of being a quarterback, and if you let it bother you, it can really bother you. Danny's one of those kind of guys that he kind of rolls with it. I mean, I know deep down he doesn't like it and all that stuff, but he rolls with it and he doesn't let it bother his game. But you live with all that kind of stuff. You know, Danny's just the kind of guy that he'll catch his share of heat again this year. There's no question it's going to come. But if there's anybody that I've ever met in this league at any time in the past 36 years that can handle criticism, he is #1 by far. He's unbelievable at it.
High praise from a quarterback who is also pretty good under pressure, but Danny McManus, congratulations. It never seems to faze you how close these games are, does it?
No, especially in the West this year. All teams are doing real well. Like you said when I first got here, this is considered, I guess, a blowout in the West because of more 6 points. But everybody in the West is playing great football, and it's going to be a dogfight all the way through the whole year.
Danny, you seem to have really struck up a great rapport with Darren Flutie.
Yeah, me and Darren, I guess this is our 5th year together, and he's like another coach on the field. He's telling me what he can do to guys, and all of our receivers do that. And it just works out that Darren seems to be into the game so much that he's reading guys as he's running routes, and it just helps me out tremendously.
Like, he's not very tough, is he? Catching the ball.
He was out there near the last couple of drives. He wanted to do the run blocks. You know, he was saying, let me hit somebody. And I said, Darren, there's other days for that. So.
He is so fun to watch because he'll go over the middle and make the tough catches. And I know as a quarterback, that makes you have a lot of confidence in a guy like that.
It helps out because that is a lot of traffic running through there. And Darren just enjoys playing the game. And all of our guys do. They all make some great catches tonight. And it helps a guy like me look good. But it's all those guys that are doing it.
Danny, were you surprised that they didn't blitz you like they talked about at the beginning of the game?
I thought for sure they would come a little bit more, especially with the guys like KD and Will just keep bringing pressure from the weak side. But they kind of backed off a little bit, and that gave our guys a little chance to run around, and that helped me with some of my reads.
You seem to have a lot of time back there on some of those plays to look at 1, 2, and maybe 3 receivers.
Yeah, our offensive line's been doing a great job this year. I said at the beginning of the year, we'll go as far as those 5 want to take us. It's always going to be those guys, but you know, whatever holes they open up for Tony and those guys always help my game a little bit better as far as throwing.
Now, of course, your passing hand is still in good shape. We saw you throw the football after the injury, and good enough to hold that microphone too. But bit of a scare for the Eskimos. Tell me about the injury. What happened?
It was weird. I just threw an out route to Darren, and I hit a guy's arm. I'm not even sure who it was, but then I looked down, and the finger was pointing that way, and I knew I wouldn't be able to take the next snap, so I just sat down there, but it took Doc 2 pulls to get it out. Then after that, it was fine. They were going to look at it once I get into the locker room, but it didn't seem to be anything big.
We want to have a look now. Sorry, Marty. We want to have a look now at early in the game, the touchdown to Darren Flutie, and tell me about that play. A great start for you guys.
Darren kind of called this one. We were just going to run an out route, but he said he's guys jumping on him, so he's just going to turn right at the sideline and just turn into a wheel route, and it just worked out perfectly. That Darren just got him to turn, then he went right upfield.
And with that, though, we talked about it before. It looked so painful when the hand went in and you injured your passing hand in that play. Have a look at it here, and might be a little bit painful to watch, although you did make a quick recovery in this.
Yeah, it was a little weird. I never had it happen to me before, and it just I looked down right away, and I knew something was wrong when I saw the finger just sitting up there like that.
I'll guarantee it'd be a lot sore if they lost.
There's no doubt. With the win, it'll be a lot easier to heal.
Danny, let me ask you something about your personality. I mean, people in my business are always criticizing, especially Les. And
no, not you, Marty.
Well, I played with Les. That's why he's on my side.
No, I know he sure is. And as a matter of fact, all your teammates. I was talking to Bobby Gordon before the game, and all your teams are very defensive of you. But I wonder how it is that you remain so unruffled when we're always attacking you for your penchant for throwing interceptions or something like that.
Well, biggest thing, I don't read the paper.
Yeah.
And so I got to admit, I've never read your column before. So, only person in our house that reads the paper has been the Cats, so they haven't said anything to me yet. But that's the thing. I just focus on what happens in the locker room. That's a big thing Coach Lancaster talked to me about. Is just we can only take care of what happens in these four walls in our locker room. Whatever happens out there, people are going to say what they want, we're going to write what they want. But you just take care of when you get between the white lines. That's your domain. You take care of things there.
You know what really surprised me is that after all the talk that Marty used to criticize you about throwing interceptions, last year in the Grey Cup you come through, and I thought maybe if you guys had won it, you would have been the most valuable player of that game.
No question.
It was close. I was looking to get a new truck. I know I know Doug has a couple, but
yeah, maybe you make a trade with him.
Yeah, I tried to talk to Darren about it. Yeah, so Darren's working on that. He's going to be my my car salesman for a little bit.
Danny, the Eskimos brought in a new quarterback this year, Marcus Crandall out of East Carolina, and I understand the fellow who steered him to the CFL was none other than his coach, who is your brother. Is that correct?
That's true. Also, my brother, Coach Jimmy Kemp. So I'm not sure what my brother's doing. But he's sending people up here. I guess he's trying to make me a little bit better. But both of those guys.
You got rid of him as an agent, didn't you?
He said he'll call tomorrow too. Want to know what happened. But yeah, those two guys are excellent to have on the field.
Danny, just a final word on the Edmonton Eskimos so far in '97. You get to the Grey Cup in '96, even though Calgary had first place once again. But a good start, 2-0, and sole possession at first in the West. But I think even tonight, how close it was, it strikes another blow for parity in this division.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's gonna. I think it's gonna be like 11 wins might win this division, 12 wins. I don't see anyone jumping out to getting 15 wins or anything like that. It's gonna be something that's gonna come all the way down to the wire.
Danny, thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Danny McManus, quarterback of the Edmonton Eskimos, who, yes, by CFL West standards, picked up a blowout, really. 6 whole points they're spread over the Saskatchewan Roughriders, improving to 2-0 in the process. And a look at the numbers for Danny McManus in this night: 17 for 32, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, and a victory. We'll be back. Back at Taylor Field in Regina, Friday Night Football, the post-game show with their thoughts on this Edmonton victory over Saskatchewan. Upstairs, Ford Miller, Glenn Suter, and David Archer, guys.
Well, guys, a couple of things. First of all, this Edmonton defense isn't quite dead yet, Glenn. It showed that with people like Willie Pless and that front four running around, the Edmonton Eskimos can still stop teams. And Robert Mims, although he ran for a lot of yards, didn't get much done late in the football game when it mattered.
No, he didn't. I think the core of that Edmonton defense is still intact, and that's their front four with Marvin Hunter, Benny Goods, Derek McCready, and, of course, Leroy Blue. And when you get that front four and you got that consistent pressure all game, and, David, you alluded to it during the game, that they never stop. And that's where the game's won and lost, in the trenches.
David, next week the Saskatchewan Roughriders play host to the Toronto Argonauts. They'll obviously get a stern test from the defending Grey Cup champions. Let's go into the mind of the quarterbacks here and say who does deserve to get the start against Toronto?
Well, one thing you'll know is you'll know where Toronto's going to line up. They're not going to give you a lot of screwy looks on defense. So the thing that whoever starts the ball game will know they're going to get some true looks. But let's face it, that's the group that everybody's calling that's going to win this ball game or win this whole thing. So I think that Daly's got a problem. He's got a problem he's going to have to solve, and he needs to solve it early in the week and give the guy the best preparation time he can, whoever he starts.
He's almost as elusive up here as he was down on the football field. You're not going to be pinned down on this one, are you? Glenn, for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, this is a situation where there's a lot of optimism coming in before this football game. This team does need to sort out. I mean, the problem Saskatchewan has is the one that everyone talked about before the year. They've got to get their offensive situation figured out.
They certainly do, and I think you're going to see two quarterback system throughout the year. Reggie Slack will be the starter. Jim Daly had told me that this afternoon, and I think he's going to stick with it. But the defense here has been paying a lot of money here, a lot of free agent signings. Those guys have to keep teams under 20 points if this team's going to have a chance to win, at least early in the season.
This is a good defense, too, David. Make no mistake about it. This Saskatchewan defense, which has always been pretty solid, is excellent.
Very much so, and they've got a bunch of veterans that have stepped in and done some good things for them already. They created turnovers tonight. Lamar McGrigg stepped up. He was the #1 pick in the dispersal draft. He made a play for them. I think the defensive front is excellent. They made a lot of plays tonight. Yeah, they're feeding off their defense, but you can only ride your defense so long.
All right, and a guy who knows all about coaching a great defense is the winning coach tonight, Rod Lancaster, who's down with the gang in the corner. Rod?
Yes, Gord knows about that, and also, of course, you heard his remarks earlier about Danny McManus. A lot of things happening tonight. Tell me, overall, you must be pretty pleased with the effort of your team.
Well, I'll tell you, you open on the road in Calgary and in Regina. That's two tough places to play, and this Saskatchewan Football Club's a very good team, and I think everybody will agree with that. They gave us a lot of trouble, but hey, the guys hung in there, and they come on the road and win too. We're very happy.
I guess, Ryan, I think that's the thing that's been impressive of your team. Both wins were character wins, and as a coach, knowing what that feels like, it makes you feel good about the prospects of the future with your team.
Yeah, certain kind of games like last week and tonight, you know, we knew they were going to be tough, and to win them, and last week's to win it the way we did, come back in that last 5 or 6 minutes, and then tonight, you know, Bob, we had a lot of opportunities first half to put this game away and didn't do it, and you only get X number of chances, and then normally things go against you, but our guys hung in there, and when the guy threw the ball out in the flat, I could see that one coming. Cavis had perfect position.
We were talking about it as well.
But then you're right, you build character with close wins. That's and right. It's going to be a tough league this year.
Oh, Coach, you recall a season, Ronnie, when there's been this much parity in the Western Division?
No, you know, I told him after the game last week in Calgary that don't be surprised if all the games this year aren't real close. I said there's not a whole lot of difference between 4 teams, and tell you what, it's holding pretty true to form.
Coach, earlier in the week, did you just get a game plan together and say we're going to come out and run the ball? Because you guys did a very good job of running the ball.
We always would like to run the football. Calgary, for some reason, does a very good job of defensing us, and I always have found them a very difficult club to run on anyway. And last week we didn't get it going. Tonight we tried to confuse Saskatchewan. You know, they want to play a lot of man coverage and come after you. We tried to move receivers, put the backs out wide, get them to move their linebackers out, and then try to hit inside. And one time they moved the linebackers out, and Eric Blunt hit a trap right up the middle. That's good, you know, because now it keeps teams off balance.
You know, I thought, though, watching Ronnie, last year I commented several times on our show that I thought with the people you have with that offensive line and Tony Burse at fullback, who's just a horse in there, and Blonde as a runner, that you would run the ball a lot better, and you never seemed to last year. But tonight it looked like you could be the kind of offense that we were kind of expecting.
Well, it's like I told them at the press conference yesterday. There's going to be games where we'll run for 200 and pass for 100. And we'll have games like we did last week in Calgary where you run for 28.
When you get behind.
Yeah, we go into the football game with the idea to try to run the football. If we can't run it, we're not going to keep beating our head against the wall. But if you can get something going and you can count on it during the game, then you go ahead and do it. And that's what they did tonight.
Just to let you know, Coach, that you were talking about it's not Sean Fleming's fault last week. It was the timing of it. So we had the clock on it tonight. We happier with the punt execution and the protection.
Yeah. Last week, the one we had blocked last week, he got off in 2.19. Now, you don't get it off any faster. You know, up here, 2.3 is you're safe. 2.19 is fast enough, but, you know, if you don't slow somebody down coming the other way, they can block them.
That was what we couldn't see on the replay in the studio, but we talked about that factor, that it could be somebody didn't touch a guy, or it could be he didn't get the ball off quick enough.
The hardest thing, and you know this, the hardest thing to do is work punt protection live. You don't want to beat your guys up, but we had to do that this week. We had to liven it up a little bit so we could get it.
Do you find that when you're playing against a guy who's a good punt returner, that some of your guys up front are so eager to get down the field that they miss their block?
Yeah, that's another thing too. You know, you sometimes defensive linemen, they're pretty sharp. Those guys up on the front, they'll lull you to sleep. They'll step into you, and then they'll, you know, you try to escape, and they fight with you. Next time you do it again, the third time, they're gone, and you're expected to do the same thing. So you got to keep your head in the game, and, you know, most of it's mental anyway. But it happens.
Ronnie, there seems to be an inordinate amount of field goals being missed so far this year.
Yeah, that's hard to believe. You know, I mean, Sean doesn't usually miss, and McLaughlin doesn't usually miss. I don't know what it is. I don't.
Callum?
You know, I wondered.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know what's going on.
I wondered in tonight's game because Saskatchewan's got a rookie long snapping now, Krasinski, and now you've got young Faraday snapping for you. So, you know, with rookies doing those chores, it's always a little scary, isn't it?
I'll tell you what, Mark. I can't say enough about Mark Fairway. I mean, we took a defensive lineman, asked him to be an offensive lineman, and he jumped in with both feet. And he's our long snapper. He's good on special teams. He makes tackles down the field. We're going to work him on defense a little bit, too, in a little while, so we'll have a swing guy that can help us anywhere.
Coach 2-0 and first in the West, although it is so early in the season. I've heard a lot of coaches talk about, with only 2 games in the preseason, you really have to get into your first couple of games to find out what's going on with your club. Can you give it more of an assessment now that you're 2 games in?
Well, I think that, you know, I can have a better assessment after next Thursday when we get the BC Lions at home, because we knew coming in, we always have trouble with Calgary. It's always a battle when we face them. This place is a hard place to play. Plus, I really believe this team's a very much improved team over last year. And now we'll see what the BC Lions are like. They had a big win last night. That's a big character builder for them. I think that we can compete with any of them, and I think the West is going to be a very good, entertaining football.
Pretty tough to argue that. Thanks a lot, Coach.
My
Congratulations once again. Ron Lancaster knew how tough it could be winning in Regina when you're a visiting team. Finding out in this one, it's a 6-point victory for the Eskimos tonight. We'll be back. The final stats here at Taylor Field, and as you can see, just slightly favoring the Eskimos, certainly in passing yardage, although Saskatchewan running the ball better. But ultimately, the most important stat, the scoreboard, it is the Roughriders falling to 1-1 after a 6-point loss to the Eskimos, joined now by the other coach, Jim Daly of Saskatchewan, in his 2nd season, and mixed feelings so far this season. Obviously, disappointment tonight. Just sum up this game for us.
Well, certainly a very disappointing game against a very good Edmonton team. Certainly congratulate Ron Lancaster and his group for coming in here and doing a great job against us. Their offense really, I thought, really set the tone of the game. They gave us multiple formations and caused our defense to get back on its heels a bit. And you know, when it comes down to it, a couple of penalties here and there on our part, and a couple of mistakes really are things that change the outcome of a game. And in the West right now, you can't afford to make mistakes and hope to compete with the other conference rivals.
Jim, let me ask you point blank, do you have a quarterback controversy in your hands now?
Well, we don't, to be honest with you. Saskatchewan, unfortunately, has had a quarterback controversy since the day Ron Lancaster was playing here and they wanted the backup on the field. We hope that doesn't develop, to be quite honest with it. One of the things I mentioned to the media earlier in the week, Marty, is in 1989, Tom Burgess and Kent Austin won a Grey Cup here as a tandem. Shortly after, both were run out of the city, and both went on to win Grey Cups with other teams. We can't afford that here. We have a guy with some potential like Kevin Mason with 6 games experience, now 7. We have a guy coming off an injury like Reggie Slack, who just had a great camp. And we have a young man who's learning the game here, Steve Sarkisian, who's going to be real good. To sell newspapers or create controversy in the media might be exciting and everything, but it could really hurt our team if that's the way it goes.
You know, Coach, I had mentioned earlier when Marty predicted you guys were going to be in first place, I said you were going to be in last. I retract that statement because you guys...
come on,
no,
so
You've done a lot better at
you know, me and Coach Daly go back to Ottawa, so, you know...
Why'd you say that?
Who are you picking last now?
No, I do think you guys have an awesome team. I said that before. I just said that your quarterback had to step up and prove that he was a good ball player. But what I want to comment on is Robert Mims. He gets better and better each game out.
Les, he's older than you.
No.
He's older than Obi.
Since,
he's not that old.
He's darn close. Since Robert came out back into the league a couple of years ago with us, he's just been outstanding. He's a guy who just gets better. He's sure doesn't have the speed of a couple of the backs in the league, but I'm not sure there's many backs who read and set up blocks better. He's a fierce competitor, and thank God we have him.
And you have another running back sitting in the wings waiting to get a chance to play in Dave Denal. So if anything happens to Robert, you can always push him in the lineup, too.
We're pretty fortunate right here, right now. We got Dave Denal, Darren Joseph, the tailback spots. We have some real depth at that position.
What really impresses me about your team is the depth that you have.
we've built some depth. We do have some work to do and some maturity to gain at quarterback, and we've known that for the 2 years I've been here. But if we can make some inroads there, I think we'll strive to reach the high standard Marty York set for us.
I want to ask you about Katie Williams, because the word out of Winnipeg was that Katie's a troublemaker and this sort of thing, and I understand he's been nothing but a model citizen for you guys.
Well, yeah, I sure can't comment on his situation in Winnipeg because I'm not all that aware of it other than what I read in the papers or heard on TV. But since he came here, we have not seen any problem at all. He's, in fact, maybe one of the more dominant, positive leaders I've ever worked with. And he's a guy who we've really built on as we got to know him. We knew he was a great player. What I didn't realize is how good a person he was and how good a leader he is. And he has set the tone, not just defensively, but for our team as far as the enthusiasm and positive attitude in our locker room.
And he's so important for the CFL because of his flamboyance. He's exactly what the league needs.
Yes, flamboyance doesn't mean anything.
I know it doesn't mean anything to you, but he's important for the league.
I think what's really important,
great.
Yeah. And I talked to Coach Daly a few weeks ago before the season started, and when you look at your football team, Jim, I think the big thing is that the quality of the new people that you've added to your football team. You're talking about Katie Williams and McGriggs. I mean, you got so many veteran guys now that have stepped up to the plate many times in the past, and that's going to make your team a lot more competitive.
Well, you're right, Bob. Again, I think we did a great job, I think, in many ways, Al Ford and Dan Rambo in particular, over the offseason in signing some free agents, two in trades, right. And actually lately in picking up some camp cuts like John Kropke and Will Johnson. And they're really helping our team. We had a long way to go, and we still do. But we have some depth and some talent at many positions. We are just a little young at this point, or a little inexperienced at quarterback, but it is something that's getting better every week and every practice. And if we can make some rapid improvement there as far as comfort in our offense, I think we're going to have a real good team.
I don't think there's too many people that would argue that, Jim, and certainly disappointment tonight, but I think a lot of people feel the Saskatchewan Roughriders are heading in the right direction. Thanks for coming on and talking to us
My
tonight.
pleasure. It's been a great start to the league all over, especially in the West, and we hope it continues, and the coverage you guys are giving us is helping our whole league.
Well, it's our pleasure, believe me. The way things have been going so far, so close in the CFL West, it is Edmonton now on top, 2-0, sole possession of first, but there's Saskatchewan and BC right behind, and surprise, surprise, Calgary Stampeders at 0-2 to start things off. We got lots more coming up. Friday Night Football, the post-game show. When we come back, we'll talk with Eskimos linebacker Willie Pless. Stay tuned.
The winner is Willie Pless.
From last November, Willie Pless once again being named top defensive player in the Canadian Football League. He joins us now after the Eskimos go up 2-0 now for first place in the West. Tell me about this game tonight.
Well, I tell you, we were lucky to come out with a victory here. As you could tell, it was very tough. They had a great run and attack. We were fortunate enough to come out with a victory here.
Willie, I'm wondering, I'm going to ask you honestly, is this defense a little worse than last year's? You're missing Mobley.
Well, I would be honest with you and tell you that we are better at this time than where we were last year. We had problems in the beginning of last year, and we are better at this time.
Now you have a defensive back that's lined up at linebacker. Does that give you guys any problems? Does that make you have to play any harder?
No, you know, our defense is designed to make the plays bounce outside, and as you could tell tonight, there wasn't any plays bouncing outside. But we will get better as time goes on. So if we can continue to win, we know we're going to get better as the time goes on.
Willie, how do you feel playing without your old sidekick there? Larry Reckon, you were quite a tandem there at the Eskimos for so long, and now young Bruce Dixon's getting his chance to play.
I tell you, Bruce been practicing at that position for 7 years or so. Of course, we miss Larry because that's 13 years of experience, but Bruce is ready to play. He's been practicing that position, and he's ready to step up.
One thing we've talked about, Willie, so far in this season, in the CFL West, it's been extraordinary. You have 3 games decided by a single point, and we joke this is a blowout in comparison, 6 points. Are you surprised at how close these 4 teams are right now?
Well, I tell you, it's going to be a tough division here, especially the Western and Eastern division. It's going to be a great, exciting exciting league, so everyone should tune in. As they say, suck it up.
Hey, we got to take all
Get
these
radical.
Fans, we got to take all these fans out of Saskatchewan and just parachute them right into Ontario right now, and then in Montreal.
Yeah.
Well, Willie, you played in Toronto. Do you notice a big difference between the fans' mentality in the West and in the East?
Well, there's no comparison, in my opinion. The Eskimos fans particularly are really behind their club, and they support us no matter what, win or lose. As when I was in Toronto, and OB, you can attest to this.
Did Obi trade you, by the way?
No, it wasn't OB.
Now's your chance to, by the way, now's your chance to assess Obi as a coach. I mean, no harm done.
I tell you what, Coach. You're a great coach. You brought me to this league.
But you were saying about Toronto, you're making a comparison between the East and the West.
Well, as I was saying, Toronto fans, I don't know what it is. They have a great team down there. Doug Flutie is taking them all the way, and I don't know what it's going to take to attract the fans. They had a winning record. They won the Grey Cup. I mean, what is it going to take? Hopefully we can get those things resolved.
Well, maybe we get a few more crowds like this and see this kind of football being played in the West. Maybe it'll get people excited, just like you said, and because the product's never been better. The dispersal drafts have really made the league tougher and better as far as talent, and that's what's allowed teams that have had problems with losing players to be that much better quickly.
Oh, that's without a doubt. Each team picked up some key players and made their team stronger, and it's going to be a tough league, and hopefully every game could be this exciting. Make people stay in the stands to watch it down to the last second. And yes, Les.
I want you to do me. I want you to do me a favor and tell Marty York who is going to finish up in first place in the West.
Well, I can't tell you that. I'm not going. You're not going to put me on the spot here, Les. But I can.
Yeah, Marty might change if you get a T-shirt, you know.
I might have to. Man, he's about ready to blind me with that.
Within 2 weeks, he'll be picking you guys. Don't worry.
That's how much he changes.
Okay.
Oh, no, Les didn't change before. The coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders comes in here, and all of a sudden Les says, "I'm not picking you for last after all."
I heard that, Les.
If Marty says right, I got to say left.
Hey, I like Saskatchewan, Willie. Don't you think they're an incredibly improved team this year?
Very much improved ball club, and they're going to get better. And I think the league as a whole is going to get better, and it's going to be exciting. And hopefully the fans can see that and get into the stands and support each team.
Well, Willie, thank you very much for joining us in the post-game show, and a victory for Willie Pless's Edmonton Eskimos tonight here at Taylor Field. It's tough to come by. A look at Willie in action against the green and white. 6-point win, Edmonton on top. We'll be back after this.
Friday night football tonight.
Friday Night Football on TSN is brought to you by Advantage, providing solutions for business. And by Gatorade. Life is a sport. Drink it up.
A good Friday night of football here at Taylor Field. Not good if you're a Rough Rider fan, but a close game. Edmonton taking it to move into sole possession of first place in the West Division. Something we talked about throughout this game, and really a blessing for us to be here and see it in person. Get the feel of the electricity, playoff-type atmosphere, and we're in July.
Well, Rod, you're right. Coming here was a reminder for me of what the difference is in the mentality and the mindset between the guys, the people in the East and the people in the West. What a difference. I mean, here, this is big league. And you see it in the newspaper here. I mean, it's front page news. Every fan in Regina seems to know every player, their stats. You know, it's an incredible difference. And I think it's a shame for the people in Toronto, for instance, that they don't know a little bit more about their Argos.
Or Montreal. Or Hamilton. You know, it's a shame that these people don't get involved in this sport because the CFL is an exciting game. I'm agreeing with Marty. Can you believe that?
You sick tonight?
I know. But also, you know, like you said, the crowd was electrifying. They're a 13th man out here, and they put a plug in there for their team to get them fired up. They had a 3rd and goal down here, and the fans were so loud that, you know, they made things happen. A fumble occurred, and the defense got the ball, and that was it.
Well, Obi, I don't know. The question still could be what's going to be the quarterback situation for Saskatchewan. But you talk about the Argos. We've got the Argos and the Ticats coming up. That's our next game on Sunday. 5 games coming up next week. We've got them all for you right here on TSN. Sports Desk coming up. Thanks for joining us from Taylor Field. From all of us here, have a great night.